खतरनाक है जो 8वें नंबर पर आप देख रहे हैं। पिछला हिस्सा पूरी तरीके से जलकर धू धू कर जलता हुआ दिखाई दे रहा है। फायर ब्रिगेड की टीम मौके पर पहुंची और इस पर काबू पाया, लेकिन प्राथमिकता जसप्रीत इस बात की है कि जो घायल हैं उन्हें उपचार जल्द से जल्द मिल सके। विजय रूपाणी का नाम इसी फेहरिस्त में 12वें नंबर पर, उसको लिस्ट को हमने दर्शकों को दिखाया है। जो तमाम यात्री इसमें मौजूद थे 12वें नंबर पर पूर्व मुख्यमंत्री विजय रूपाणी इसमें मौजूद थे। गुजरात के पूर्व मुख्यमंत्री विजय रूपाणी भी लंदन के लिए सफर कर रहे थे। 52 तो उसमें ब्रिटेन के ही नागरिकों की मौजूदगी थी। अहमदाबाद से लंदन के लिए जो एयर इंडिया का विमान टेक ऑफ हुआ था, लेकिन यह बहुत शुरुआती ही लम्हा, जैसे ही विमान इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट से टेक ऑफ करता है, पूरी शिद्दत से वो आसमान में ऊपर ऊंचाई तक पहुंच भी नहीं पाता कि तुरंत वो थोड़ी देर बाद ही, और अब जो ताजा जानकारी आ रही है, खुद गृह मंत्री अमित शाह अहमदाबाद पहुंचने वाले हैं। विमान हादसे के बाद गृह मंत्री ने भी खुद अपना सारा कार्यक्रम स्टे करते हुए वो सीधे अब वो खुद अहमदाबाद पहुंचेंगे, उनका संसदीय क्षेत्र भी। और सबसे खास बात यह है कि ये तस्वीर आप देखिए, चंद सेकंड्स, 1 2 3 गिनते हुए 10 सेकंड्स में ही कुछ ही देर में ये हादसे का शिकार हो जाता है। ओके, जरूरी।
What exactly is on the cards?
There will be immediate meeting that's going to be there, and of course, the Civil Aviation Ministry will do its own probe.
Yes.
And like you mentioned, that probe teams have been rushed as
Okay,
well.
we're also being told. Hold your thoughts, Payal. Just hold your thoughts. I'm going to go straight across to Arunima for an update on the Union Home Minister Amit Shah. Yes, Arunima.
Yes, as the Home Minister Amit Shah is just flying off to Ahmedabad. He is the local member of parliament as well. And this is coming at a time when people are still speculating. These are just speculation. Nobody is confirming it as yet. But there are speculations whether this was an accident or whether this was an act of sabotage. So since he is also the Union Home Minister, both in his dual role as the Home Minister and the local member of parliament, and somebody who knows Gujarat like nobody else does, he's already spoken to the Chief Minister, and his presence there is aimed to aid rescue and relief efforts. From the central government side, it's anything that the state government requires to retrieve the situation. If there are any survivors, if they need any medical aid, if they need to be flown out of Ahmedabad, taken to Bombay, taken to Delhi, whatever needs to be done, I think the best man is being put on the job by the Prime Minister. The local member of parliament, the Union Home Minister rushing to Ahmedabad, should be flying off within the hour is what we are told.
Yes, we're also being told, of course, and I just reported this, the Director General of the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau with his team is leaving for Ahmedabad for an investigation. This is according to Ministry of Civil Aviation sources, because viewers, in the right aftermath of a crash, you need to sanitize and in some ways or the other ensure that the scene of the accident is, or the crash is not compromised, because there's important, very important details that emerge from there. I want to go straight across to Griha, who has a list of the passengers aboard. Our prayers, of course, with each one of them. Griha.
Distressing times, Rahul. We are only, our heart goes out for any family members who possibly are watching this. This is the list that has been, in fact, put out. It has been released, and there you can see passenger number 12. There has the former Chief Minister of Gujarat, Mr. Vijay.
क्रैश हो गई है, जिसमें प्रिलिमिनरी हमें पता चला है कि 223 जितने पैसेंजर थे। यहाँ पे जिस बिल्डिंग के ऊपर गिरी है वो डॉक्टर्स का हॉस्टल है। इंसिडेंट बनने के विदिन 2-3 मिनट्स में पुलिस, बाकी सभी बॉडियाँ, सिविल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, कॉर्पोरेशन वगैरह सभी लोग आ गए थे। फायर फाइटर वगैरह स्थल पे हाजिर है। लोगों को बचाने की और रेस्क्यू करने की कार्रवाई जारी है। ऑलमोस्ट 70 से 80% एरिया हमने क्लीन कर लिया, बाकी आने समय में हम लोग क्लियर कर लेंगे। मैं सभी मीडिया के मित्रों से रिक्वेस्ट करता हूं, सभी हमसे सहयोग करें। जितनी पुलिस और उसके अलावा जितनी भी एजेंसी, आर्मी, बीएसएफ, सीआईएसएफ, कॉर्पोरेशन, कलेक्टर ऑफिस के सभी स्टाफ, सभी यहाँ काम में लगे हुए हैं। प्लीज़ हमसे सहयोग करिए और थोड़ी सी हमारे लिए जगह बना के रखिए, ताकि हम एम्बुलेंस को ग्रीन कॉरिडोर बना के हॉस्पिटल तक पहुँचा सकें। थैंक यू।
We're talking about the passenger list that has been accessed by CNN News 18. We are only hoping that the family members here are not watching, but this is the list that has been released. Here you can see passenger number 12. If we can close in on this particular list, has the former Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani's name on it. It says boarded. He in fact was very much there on that flight. We do not have any details as of now from his office about Mr. Rupani's whereabouts, so we don't want to in fact draw anything up for conjecture, but this is what we are in fact seeing through this particular list that is out. Let me also give you a lowdown on the kind of people, the nationalities that they belong to, or the people, the 242 people who were on board this ill-fated flight. We are learning through this particular list, and there are nationalities here, Rahul, where we learn of many people, not just Indians, but also from Britain who were on board. They had the British passport, so about 52 British individuals were on board this aircraft. Also one Portuguese from this list that we learn of, and the rest were Indian. So this is what this list in fact lays bare. The number of passengers who have boarded, several of them also children. That's how distressing this is, because we are talking about 242 in this case. And also a statement there, confirmation that Gujarat, the former Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani had boarded this particular flight.
Very, very unfortunate scenes, viewers. To the left is a flight manifesto, at least parts of it. And you can see that this was a flight that was carrying a large number of citizens from different parts of the world, including British citizens there. You can see Griya just talked us through some of those people. Let's go straight across to Yesha for more details. Yesha, what can you tell us? We know that this flight has crashed moments after it took off. We're being told that it crashed into a doctor's hostel.
Absolutely. In fact, this very flight that we speak of was an Air India flight from Ahmedabad headed towards London. It was involved in a crash shortly after the takeoff. And right outside the airport. Details emerged as to within 8 to 9 minutes of the takeoff from Sardar Vallabhbhai Airport was where the flight in fact took off, and it has in fact fallen into a residential area. All of these are preliminary details which have emerged. In fact, more details speak about how the Home Minister is also headed towards Ahmedabad to take a stock of the situation. The Prime Minister has also spoken to the Civil Aviation Minister and has asked all of them to head to Ahmedabad and to ensure all possible assistance possible. What's also important to note is that as of now, details from local sources have spoken about how there have been more than 40 bodies that have been brought to the hospital. So far, no official source has in fact gone ahead to mention as to what can be the toll here, but it seems to be a massive tragedy, particularly because so far Ahmedabad Airport has also been kept non-operational for any further flights from here on, which is where all the local authorities have been rushed to the spot, and there are expected to be more than 200 people who would have been on board that very flight. So yes, all the particular stakeholders responsible, be it the Tata Airlines or for that matter, other stakeholders, they've all been kept on tenterhooks to ensure that that those who are injured or those who were involved there, plus residents who've been injured in that very incident, are rushed to the local hospital. All the local authorities have been kept on alert. Yes.
Yeah, well, the updates that are coming in now, of course, official sources, and we're not going to, of course, play out anything that hasn't been verified. So what we're now being told is that Captain Sumit Sabharwal was an LTC with 8,200 hours of experience. The co-pilot had 1,100 hours of flying experience. As per ATC, the aircraft departed from Ahmedabad at 13:39 Indian Standard Time or 8:09 UTC from runway 23, and most importantly gave a mayday call to the ATC, but thereafter no response was given by the aircraft to the calls made by the ATC. So viewers, very little response time there. The Union Home Minister is on his way at 4 o'clock to Ahmedabad. He is also going to be overseeing the rescue and relief efforts. We know that this plane crashed almost within minutes of takeoff. You can see that it was reduced to a ball of flames, towering ball of flames. And I want to go across to Mr. Mark Martin, who's a technical expert, for more on this. Mr. Martin, catastrophic loss of lift, it would appear. Even the landing gear had not retracted. What do you make of the incident? Mr. Martin, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. Well, from what we know, I think it's very, very initial, and I don't believe it's right that we speculate on this. But I think from what we know so far, this guy had about 254 passengers on board. The 787 capacity is 265, so it is almost a full aircraft. He was full with fuel and cargo. He took off, and I think what appears to be the issue here is that the power assurance that he was trying to get from both his engines, those really didn't help and support him much. So, I mean, the pilots that were flying were very qualified. They had there was one of the pilots was a TRE, TRI, which is a examiner, an instructor, and a senior captain. So obviously he was well versed with the situation and knew how to deal with emergencies. So clearly, I think a full-blown investigation has to be called into this. The DGCA must be involved. The AIB should be involved. We should also get EASA and the FAA and TSB, because this is the world's first 787 crash. Never have we seen a crash. And what is worse is that the 787 has been flying with Air India for the last 15 years, and with zero incidents except for minor maintenance issues and spare parts. And this is the first time we've seen a catastrophic event after the takeover of Air India by Singapore Airlines. So clearly there has to be a holistic investigation into the entire incident and event, and we need to get to the bottom of this, because this is going to send a rippling message to the world on the efficacy and safety of the 787, which has been one of the safest aircraft ever produced by Boeing.
So are you saying that there has been no crash prior to this of this particular airline? Is that what you're saying?
This particular aircraft, the 787 Dreamliner, 787
sorry, what I meant was the aircraft. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, the 787 Dreamliner. This aircraft, there has never been a crash ever. Even when this aircraft was operated by Air India and the Government of India management, the 787 performed beautifully for Air India, because Air India was the launch customer for the 787, and it had error-free flying. Sure, there were maintenance issues, there were groundings, but back then this aircraft was one of the best, and it still is. It still is a technology trendsetter. Well, so clearly,
let me just hold on, Mr. Martin. I'm also being joined by Mr. Devesh Agarwal, who's an aviation minister. I would like aviation expert. I want you to stay on with me. I want to also bring in Mr. Agarwal and involve him in this conversation. You've probably seen the pictures, Mr. Agarwal. They obviously tell a catastrophic story, horrific story, heart-sinking visuals. Moments after takeoff, the plane loses what appears to be power and crashes into a very densely packed residential / habitated area right outside the perimeter of the airport. What do you make of this? What's your assessment, preliminary assessment?
Let me first preface by offering my deepest condolences to the families of the bereaved, and my prayers that they find survivors. In fact, my cousin sister works in the civil hospital where the aircraft crashed. She was unable to talk because there was quite some smoke. She was telling me that there is a student hostel immediately adjacent to the building in which the aircraft crashed, and there are students who are not accounted for. So again, prayers that they have not been victims of this crash and they may have just stepped out of the building. So that is where I'm going to preface it. I was listening to what Mark was saying. Yes, this is the first quote unquote accident. There have been, I'm not sure if there has been a hull loss earlier due to the grounding. For sure, India's AAIB, Air Accidents Investigation Board, will be involved. And from the United States, you will get the NTSB, because it is the aircraft is made in the United States. I don't see EASA playing any role because they are the European regulator. Definitely, there will be representatives from Boeing and from GE, because this was a Gen X engine. The launch customer was All Nippon Airways I forget the exact date, but they used the Rolls-Royce engine on their 787s. Japan Airlines and Air India they used the General Electric Gen X engine, and there was an issue right at the beginning which delayed deliveries of the GE equipped, or rather GE powered 787s. So this was delivered in January 2014, but its serial number is 26. That means this was the 26th aircraft or 787 that was made. But as I said, 11 years is nothing in terms of this aircraft. It's a very modern aircraft, as Mark said very correctly. Modern systems on board. I I'm I see the video, and obviously there has been a loss of lift. Why that has been a loss of lift is what I think everybody's going to focus on. From what I could discern from the ADS-B data, the aircraft was traveling at roughly around 174 knots, which is close to 350 kilometers. It achieved a height of right around 700 odd feet. It was ascending at roughly about 900 feet per minute, which is pretty decent for immediately after takeoff. So I mean, this has happened literally a minute or two after takeoff. The ADS-B data shows that it has happened within a minute or so of liftoff. So, and you can see the landing gear is still down. So why they have had such a major loss of lift? The General Electric Gen X engines, if you see, they power all the 777s in the world. They power the 747s and a good number of 787s, and they are a very, very, very reliable engine. To the extent, I think, you can see India operates, Air India operates the San Francisco to India flights, and they spend large periods of time over the North Pole near the Siberian Arctic, very far away from airports. And the GE engines are rated to allow pilots to fly as far as 6 hours away from the nearest airport. That's how reliable these engines are. And whether it's regulators or designers, they feel confident in terms of the engine reliability that it will not fail. Even if one engine fails, an aircraft is certified to at least take off. So it may not be able to maintain high altitude, but it'll definitely take off. And tests are done. In fact, there are videos online where there's been a case of a Lufthansa A321 taking off from Frankfurt, and a bird got sucked into its engine, and the aircraft took off. So I don't want to speculate. Surely there's been a loss of lift, but why that has happened is very difficult to say.
Is it unusual? Is it unusual for both engines to? I presume this would have been a result of both engines. There was a mayday call that was issued by the pilots.
Correct.
Of course, the ATC didn't have time to respond because obviously there was very little reaction time. But
Right.
is it usual for both engines to pack up?
No, sir. That's what I'm saying. It is unusual for even one engine to fail. That's what I was saying. The GE engines, this is based, the Gen X engine was a derivative of the very famous GE 90 series engines, which are extremely long-lived engines. I can't even hazard a guess. Maybe Mark will know how many GE 90 total family engines, but I would venture to say.
there's an accident, but ਹੁਣ ਹੋਸ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਖਬਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ। ਅਸੀਂ ਤੇ ਇਹੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਰਥਨਾ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਿੰਨੇ all those who were on board should be all right, and we should await the news. I don't think one should speculate on that.
ਸਰ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਭਾਜਪਾ ਨੇ ਚਾਰਜ ਵੀ ਸਨ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਯਾਰ ਖਬਰ ਤੇ ਲੈ ਲਓ ਪੂਰੀ।
Well, viewers, there are all sorts of course, inputs that are coming in. We don't want to really lend anything to any rumor. So we're going to continue to stick with the official record that we're being shared moment to moment by the authorities. I can tell you that the last update, and Devesh Agarwal is here with us, and we're going to stick with him. But I want to quickly go across for more updates to Payal. Now we know a few things. For example, that this particular flight did send out a mayday call. The pilots did call for help. There was very little time for the ATC to do anything about it, and clearly for the pilots to also react. It was a craft laden with ATC, which explains why there was this huge ball of fire and flame that rose up into the horizon. But what are the updates you have, Payal, right now for us to share?
Rahul, of course, the investigation teams are on their way, and it's just for them to come out and do the entire investigation. Of course, a lot of talks have been doing the rounds as far as the efficiency of these engines are concerned. The expert that you were just speaking to, as in terms of what could be the reason as well. We do not want to speculate at this point in time. And added us, the government has also assured us that they will be giving us timely updates, from time to time, telling us what really is happening. But the man whose soundbite that you just played right now will definitely, Rahul, know a thing or two about how the aviation industry really works. Hardeep Puri has very successfully led the country as a civil aviation minister. It was during his regime that the entire merger of Air India and Vistara took place, and the Tatas took over as well. So he definitely will know a thing or two about the technicalities as far as that is really concerned. But like I said, at this point in time, the government of the day wants to make an effort to have all the hands on the deck, whether it's the rescue and relief operation that is being, of course, led by the Gujarat state government, and therefore you have the Union Home Minister, who's also a member of parliament from Gandhinagar, which is, of course, the capital city of Gujarat. He's rushing there. He also, he also controls the disaster management teams across the entire country. So his being present there on ground will also give a lot of solace to the locals once he goes there and gets the situation on ground. And a short time, after which, of course, Rammohan Naidu, civil aviation minister, very young in his civil aviation ministry days, his first year just about getting complete, reaching there as well. So obviously that's going to be a all hands on the deck approach that has been put in place. Bhupendra Patel, in fact, has also spoken to Union Home Minister Amit Shah in the past, and has also spoken to Rammohan Naidu as well. So he's also marshalling on the resources, including his ministers being on ground as well. We can just hope and pray that the casualties are minimum, but we'll have to just wait and see on the numbers, because many people are being rushed to the nearest hospitals possible. All kind of help is being given, and therefore the Union Health Minister has also asked for all medical help to be rushed to the accident site as soon as possible.
Well, let me go across to Devesh Agarwal. Thanks indeed for that update from Pyle there. We're also being told that the Union Home Minister is on his way to Ahmedabad. He's going to depart at about 4 o'clock from Delhi. The AIB is already sending 3 teams to go and scour the crash site for clues, etc. We were speaking to Devesh Agarwal, aviation expert, who expressed dismay at the catastrophic failure of the Gen X series of GE engines, which he says are very, very reliable. In fact, Mr. Agarwal said that the plane can fly on one engine. For 2 engines to fail is very unusual. Would you still stick by that statement, Mr. Agarwal, and give us a little bit of a background on this engine?
Well, one thing, please, as I said, I never ever said that there's a failure of the Gen X engine at all. I said there is a loss. From the video, we can make out that there is a loss of lift on the aircraft.
Okay.
Why that has happened is obviously going to be determined by the accident investigators. I was only saying that the GE Gen X engines are extremely reliable engines. They are fitted on more than half of the world's 787 fleet, and I can't even recall how many 787s are currently operating, but they're in the hundreds. And it's a very reliable aircraft. Please, I've never made that statement. Please, is my humble request, because this is a sensitive time, and I am a person by nature. I don't like to speculate on reasons for a crash. We have seen a loss of lift, and that is, the crew has been very experienced. It's a very experienced crew. It is a stable aircraft. What has happened will obviously be,
What can sometimes trigger a loss of lift, Mr. Agarwal?
See, you could have a loss of engines. You could have, and why did those engines lose the power? Is it a bird strike, or is it possible that you get what is called a microburst, wind shear? What happens is, this normally though happens in thunderstorm conditions. You have air rising and a column of air shooting down towards the ground, and so it sort of tends to push the plane down. If you remember, Delta Airlines had a crash, if I remember, Delta 191 back in Dallas Fort Worth, which was as a direct result of a microburst right as they were getting ready to land at the airport. So we don't know why there is a loss of lift. And to be honest with you, one engine failing itself is out of the very, very far-fetched possibility. both engines failing is an impossibility. So there is obviously something else that has happened that has caused the loss of lift. These two engines are too reliable. And as I pointed out, the aircraft could have climbed with one engine. So definitely there has to be some other reason. We just don't know. We absolutely don't know. You can see the pilots have not even retracted the gear. So the aircraft is not in what we would call in a clean condition. So it's what, 700 feet off the ground. It's at a climb rate of 1,000 feet per minute. That means that 70% of a minute, less than 45 seconds after takeoff. It's not, it's just within 45 seconds to a minute after takeoff. There's obviously something else that has happened that has caused this loss of lift, and that's what needs to be investigated. And I really do hope that the Indian government, the AAIB, takes a lead. If you recall the way the NTSB gave timely updates, they had public briefings and timely updates, and they accepted questions from the press, or rather the media, and they gave timely information. That, I think, is what is going to be the determinant of how India and Air India is viewed by the world of
True,
aviation.
of course. I mean, I'm sure that the government will do what it has to do, Mr. Agarwal. The point of this entire broadcast right now is to give you quick updates, really, on what has transpired. So, Mr. Agarwal, just stay on with me. I want to walk our viewers through what we know definitively. About 2 hours back, the Air India plane, a Dreamliner, takes off from Ahmedabad airport. It is on its way to Gatwick, but the moment after it takes off, even before it could retract the landing gear, there is a catastrophic loss of lift. The aircraft collapses through the sky. You can see those pictures in the middle of your screens into what we're being told is a doctor's hostel attached to a medical college. Immediately you see a fireball that emerges above the horizon. The crash site is a very, very thickly populated area just beyond the perimeter of the Ahmedabad airport. The flight path directly under it are a large number of residential buildings. We don't have updates from whether there have been casualties on the ground unrelated to the passengers who have been on board. If there has been collateral damage, we have no clue about that. We can confirm that some people who are injured have been rushed to hospital. Whether they were passengers or others, we can't confirm. On your right is the immediate aftermath. You can see almost nothing is left of the plane. There is a picture of the tail sticking out of a portion of the building. What we can tell you is that the two pilots were very, very experienced and that they had issued a mayday call. Why this particular flight lost lift, we don't know. Nothing on record as of now. I want us to go straight across and listen into this soundbite from the local police authorities. Let's go straight across to that.
इंसिडेंट बनने के विदिन 2-3 मिनट्स में पुलिस, बाकी सभी बॉडियां, सिविल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, कॉर्पोरेशन वगैरह सभी लोग आ गए थे। फायर फाइटर वगैरह स्थल पे हाजिर है। लोगों को बचाने की और रेस्क्यू करने की कार्रवाई जारी है। ऑलमोस्ट 70 से 80% एरिया हमने क्लीन कर लिया, बाकी आने समय में हम लोग क्लियर कर लेंगे। मैं सभी मीडिया के मित्रों से रिक्वेस्ट करता हूं, सभी हमसे सहयोग करें। जितनी पुलिस और उसके अलावा जितनी भी एजेंसी, आर्मी, बीएसएफ, सीआईएसएफ, कॉर्पोरेशन, कलेक्टर ऑफिस के सभी स्टाफ सभी यहाँ काम में लगे हुए हैं। प्लीज़ हमसे सहयोग करिए और थोड़ी सी हमारे लिए जगह बना के रखिए ताकि हम एम्बुलेंस को ग्रीन कॉरिडोर बना के हॉस्पिटल तक पहुँचा सकें। थैंक यू।
Okay, there's that new video there, and you can see the what appears to be at least one part of the plane sticking out of a building, or seems to have settled on top of the building. Very difficult to say from this angle, but certainly you can see that that might be a part of the wing, which of course bears the fuel at some levels. I'm not an expert, so I would like Mr. Agarwal to come in on this. And before that, quick update from Payal. Payal, what can you tell us?
in the wake of this unfortunate episode which has taken place, Rahul, a helpline has already been issued by the Gujarat government, by the Gujarat state government, and also by the Ministry of Civil Aviation for anybody who wants to establish contact if they can't find their loved ones. And that is something which has been done. The government of the day is committed, like I said, to the well-being of every individual, and therefore the officials over there requesting, like you just played out the soundbite, requesting everybody not to crowd the streets, not to come to the accident site, but allow a green corridor so that anybody who needs to be rushed for medical help can be done at the earliest as well. And we've just got a tweet which has been put out by Dr. Jaishankar, who is of course a Rajya Sabha member of Parliament also from Gujarat, and he said that he's very, very deeply shocked and he's pained to learn about the flight crash in Ahmedabad, and his prayers are with the passengers and their families as well. He's currently overseas, so he's putting out that tweet expressing his deepest condolences for what has really happened.
Well, the nation in shock, viewers. We're getting a lot of reactions from the Prime Minister, the Home Minister, to several Chief Ministers of different states, to the Aviation, Union Aviation Minister, who's on a special flight from Vijayawada straight across to Ahmedabad because there is no direct flight from there, at least available as of now. On the left is the debris, remnants of the craft. In the middle is the moment of the crash, heart-sinking moment really, viewers. This flight was almost full. It had 142 passengers aboard it, two very experienced pilots who were in control and command, and they issued a mayday call. Even before the ATC could respond, this plane goes up in flames. It crashes into a hostel, attached to a medical facility where doctors are in residence. We don't know whether they were in residence at that time, how many other people on the ground in this very densely packed crash site area have been affected. To the right, you can see that the obvious aftermath suggests that this was a very, very catastrophic result. Let me go across to Devesh Agarwal, Sanjay Leza, aviation expert, also there with us. Devesh Agarwal, a quick update from you on your take, and I also want to bring in right after that Mr. Sanjay Leza. Yes.
So basically, just to let you know, the world's most popular wide-body aircraft till date was the Boeing 777, and they had delivered little over 1,500. In case of the 787, they have already delivered around 1,200 aircraft, and they have orders for at least another 1,000 plus aircraft. So it shows you how popular this aircraft is, how reliable this aircraft is. This is the first fatal accident of a 787, whether of the Dash 8, which is the earliest version, the Dash 9, which is what Vistara has, and the Dash 10, which of course no Indian airline has ordered, but it is used a lot by British Airways, United Airlines, and others. The crew, as you just rightly pointed out, very experienced crew, and Air India has traditionally had a history of, the engineering on their aircraft has always been good. We hear about, the interior of the aircraft, but the airworthiness of the aircraft has never been in question at Air India. That is something that airline has a legacy of, and it is a very proud and, strong legacy and a history at that airline that the aircraft are safe. So why that loss of lift has occurred, that is where it's going to be, I think that's where the investigation is going to focus. The particular aircraft details, this was registered VTANB, Alpha November Bravo, and it is the 26th 787 ever built. It was delivered to Air India in the middle of January 2014.
Well, thank you, Mr. Agarwal, for that input and for that very quick assessment. Of course, lots of details expected, so this story will be updated. The causes and the consequences will also, of course, become clearer as the day proceeds and perhaps over the next few days. Sanjay Leza, aviation expert, also here with us. Mr. Leza, what do you make of these pictures? Catastrophic, sinking feeling when you look at the picture in the middle specifically. But aside from that, a very, very, very unfortunate happenstance. not very usual, is it?
No, it's a very sad day for aviation in general and Air India in particular and Indian aviation. My heart goes out to many of my former colleagues who've probably on that aircraft as well as in the company. Prayers and thoughts with them. Um, Very tragic, and it's pretty certain, or it appears to be that either the aircraft had major engine failure, whether it's through ingestion of birds or just stalling. But you can see loss of power and the aircraft dropping, like Devesh was saying earlier. The 787 is one of the most sturdy aircraft which has not had any fatalities or any accidents like this so far in its history. This aircraft is only 11 and a half years old. So again, a very new aircraft. Like he said also that Air India aircrafts are very well maintained engineering wise. So that should not have been a problem. The pilots were very well experienced, more than 10,000 hours between them. So, really one is left scratching his head trying to figure out what could have been at the bottom of these two engines failing and the aircraft sinking. Also, it's rammed into a building which is a medical college and a medical college hostel. It was afternoon time, and we believe the lunch mess must have been full of kids who were studying in that hostel. So I worry about what may have happened over there. Part of the aircraft tail seems to have been lodged on the roof of that building, and the rest has collapsed beyond that. It's a very, very grim situation. We can see we've already heard from sources in Ahmedabad that almost 40 bodies have been recovered. We don't know what's happening so far. I think 11 or 12 were taken to hospital. Whether they have survived or not, we not certain. We're still in the realm of speculation as far as that is concerned. But it's a black day for aviation in India and the world over, really.
Mr. Lezar, from what we gleaned from our short conversation with Mr. Agarwal was that the Dreamliner can fly also on just one engine. So this sort of adds another layer to the fact that there was this catastrophic failure of lift. I don't know if it was engine induced, and neither did he want to actually hazard that guess, but what do you think really happened here? A mayday call was issued, the landing gear hasn't been retracted, so it's very, very early in the flight. How would something like this anomaly gone undetected? Is it possible? Would checks have been, are checks conducted before a flight takes off for a long haul? What kind of checks are they? Can you just walk us through some of the preparatory procedures?
Well, there's no question about checks. Checks are taken whether it's a long haul or a short haul. There are detailed checks that go on by the ground engineers as well as the pilot himself. Either the first officer or the PIC does a walk around. Typically, it's the first officer, they check. Systems are checked. So there's absolutely no question of not having been checked. You're right. So is Devesh that, the one engine could have helped it. But obviously, it's clear from images. We don't have any data. We know that it took off 175 knots was the speed. We know it was a hot day. So the profile of the weather profile, takeoff profile must have been built according to that. Also very heavy aircraft, 240 passengers plus baggage plus fuel for a long haul flight to London. So it's not exactly light. Possibility of perhaps both engines having stalled is all I can say, because there's absolutely zero lift. When you look at the image that you're playing on your screen right now, it shows that the aircraft has struggled to lift off and is just not climbing. There's zero climb. And rightly, as you mentioned, the pilot did issue a mayday call, which the DGCA itself has reflected in its press statement. And before the ATC could respond, it just hit the building and went up in a ball of flames. He couldn't direct the aircraft anywhere. Could not maneuver it to safety.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Leza, the GE engine, the Gen X series of GE engines are known to be very reliable.
Very reliable. They are very reliable and very, very powerful engines. So, I'm only speculating that there were birds that, bird hit that happened. That's about it. I can't think of anything else. This was a major ingestion or, something that caused both engines to stall. Because even in the videos that I've seen, I've not really heard the engines, the being introduced or the power of the engines coming into force. So I really can't tell, from this distance, sitting far away as we are, and we really is not fair to speculate beyond that.
True. A bird hit, could it result in this kind of an incident?
Multiple bird hits could stall the engine. It's about stalling the engine, and this is the most critical phase of flight, takeoff. As we all know, landing and takeoff are the most critical, but takeoff is particularly critical because you could lose complete power as we see as happened here. And the fact that he issued a mayday call, just pushes us towards that conclusion, unless there was catastrophic failure in both engines that we do not know about as yet.
Mr. Nezar, we were told that the Boeing could actually fly on one engine also, in case there was a bird hit to one. In this early period of flight, is that possible?
Well, I don't know if one engine would be able to lift an aircraft with, at this stage of flight with all that load. But be that as it may, it's pretty clear. You can't see the aircraft bank to either side. It's obvious that there seems to be total loss of power in this aircraft, not from one, possibly both engines. That's what I can surmise from the videos and the data that we've received so far.
Yeah, well, I mean, the data, of course, at this instance is very, very sketchy, viewers. We're only getting information that we're reeling that has been confirmed and put out by the authorities in question, because doing anything else would be to hazard misinformation, which is not our intention at all. But the pictures are now quite clear. There are first responders on the scene, a building. As you can see on the right, there's a lot of smoke emanating from that building. Clearly, it's the ATF that is cloaked to that building. Whether there have been people inside that building that have also been affected, we don't know. We have seen bodies being pulled out of the wreckage. We also have seen people being wheeled into hospital. Obviously, we can't tell you if those are passengers or if there were people on the ground, but the scenes are extremely overwhelming. Let's go straight across to the MOS of Civil Aviation, who has spoken to our network. Let's play that.
सर, हमसे बात करने के लिए शुक्रिया। मैं जानना चाहता हूं कि अभी फिलहाल वहां की स्थिति क्या है, किस तरीके से सरकार जो है वो मदद कर रही है।
जी, अभी तो वहाँ की जो गवर्नमेंट है, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के साथ हमारे अधिकारी संपर्क में है। राहत बचाव का कार्य भी शुरू हो गया है जी, और हम भी घटनास्थल पे पहुंच रहे हैं। मैं भी थोड़ी देर में वहाँ पे पहुंचूंगा। माननीय एचएम सर, देश के गृह मंत्री अमित भाई भी वहाँ पे पहुंच रहे हैं। तो अभी सभी स्तर पे कार्रवाई शुरू है, काम शुरू है।
और सर, प्राइमरी इन्वेस्टिगेशन में क्या कुछ सामने आया है कि एग्जैक्टली रीजन क्या था?
नहीं, अभी तक तो जांच चल रही है। अभी कुछ हम इस पे बात करना उचित नहीं होगा, लेकिन उसकी जांच चल रही है। मैंने अभी भी मिनिस्ट्री में सभी वरिष्ठ अधिकारियों के साथ मैंने मीटिंग भी करी है, लेकिन उसका सामने आएगा एक्चुअली रीजन क्या है, वो सामने भी आएगा। लेकिन अब तो पहला काम हमारा है कि वहाँ के राहत बचाव का कार्य में हमें ध्यान देना है, पहले वो तो काम करना पड़ेगा।
मोदी, मुझे ये जानना है कि आंकड़े जो है कैजुअलिटी हो या फिर इंजर्ड हो, उनके अलग अलग आ रहे हैं क्या आपकी तरफ से?
नहीं, अभी तो कुल 242 लोग थे जी। 230 उसमें यात्री थे, 12 क्रू मेंबर्स थे। तो अभी तक तो कैजुअलिटी आ रही है सामने। अभी तक कोई ऑफिशियली कैजुअलिटी हम नहीं बोल रहे हैं, सभी जांच भी चल रही है। पहले तो राहत बचाव का काम शुरू है, बाद में उस पर।
ये जो फ्लाइट क्रैश हुआ है वो रेसिडेंशियल एरिया में हुआ है, तो क्या वहाँ पे लोग कितने इंजर्ड हुए या वहाँ की कैजुअलिटी का कुछ आंकड़ा?
वही तो मैंने अभी कहा कि राज्य सरकार के संपर्क में हमारी सभी टीम है वहाँ पे। तो अभी सामने नहीं आ रहा है कि, लेकिन वहाँ भी राहत बचाव का कार्य जो शुरू है उसमें पहले तो इन लोगों को बाहर निकालना है। इनको इमीडिएटली वहाँ पे मेडिकल इमरजेंसी को पहले उनको वहाँ पे हॉस्पिटल में शिफ्ट करना है, मदद करना है।
I'm also joined by Captain Kishore Chinta, who is the Chief Pilot of Sirius India Airlines Private Limited. Thanks a lot, Captain Kishore, for joining us. I want to understand from you first, from what we know, within a minute or so of takeoff, this plane has crashed, and it has crashed in a scenario where it seems the pilots were not in control at all. They had already issued a mayday call and they actually crashed into a building. What do you make of what could have happened?
Ma'am, I have seen the videos. The 787 has 70,000 on each engine. For an airplane like a 787 to go down in a controlled manner like that, either they've lost both the engines, and Ahmedabad per se always has a lot of birds and vultures over there, up to almost 3,000 feet. It's speculation as of now. That either both the engines have to have had some kind of bird ingestion or a compressor stall or something like that for the engines to lose power. Otherwise, with just one engine, also the aircraft can climb out at 400 to 500 feet per minute for a aircraft of that size.
I just want to understand from you, these bird ingestion issues that you're talking about, how frequent are they?
Bird ingestion are infrequent, but there is always that risk, especially in airfields like Ahmedabad and Baroda and some other airfields. Ahmedabad has historically had bird activity in and around the airfield. So I am not saying that it could have been a bird hit, but the fact that the pilots gave a mayday and we see the aircraft climb to max altitude on flight radar close to 625 feet, which would be about 425 feet off the ground. The airfield elevation is about 200 at Ahmedabad. So they did climb to 425 feet. On the aircraft, they could have engaged autopilot, but it appears to be that they've lost power in both the engines for the airplane to have come down in a controlled manner like that.
Yes. And because most experts like yourself are suggesting that even loss of one engine should not lead to a crash like this, I want to understand from you, if this was, let's say, a bird-related incident, can it take off both? Can it take out both engines like this so quickly after takeoff, within a minute or so?
It is possible, ma'am. Like the United aircraft, where Captain Sully Slumberger, went down into the Hudson. It is possible for both the engines to get affected by birds.
Okay, and looks like there would have been very little reaction time to control anything. What do you make of the situation the pilots would have faced if this, let's say, both engines went out so quickly after takeoff?
The pilots did a fabulous job keeping the wings level to minimize any kind of damage, and the aircraft's gone down in a controlled manner. They probably have done everything possible which they have been trained for a situation like this. But the rest we'll only come to know once more specifics come out from the flight data recorder and cockpit voice record.
I just want to understand from you also, because you are an expert in this field. Apart from a bird hit, what else can lead to a crash like this so soon after takeoff, where the speculation is that not just one but both engines went out? What else is a plausible reason?
I don't see another plausible reasons, ma'am. This has to be loss of both the engines for the aircraft of the magnitude of 787 to go down in this manner. And this is the world's first ever Boeing 787 crash. So that's the track record of this airplane. And the pilots are highly experienced, well-trained. So the only probable cause would be loss of power on both the engines, just at the time they were getting airborne.
And that's extremely rare, isn't it?
It's probably 1 in a million kind of scenario. There's probably nothing anyone could have done in this case. If there was no obstacles immediately after takeoff, probably they could have, glided down onto the ground to as minimal damage as possible. But with buildings over there, they seem to have landed on top of one of the under construction buildings. We do not know the damage or loss of lives on ground, but more details will be coming out as and when the DGCA Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau brings out details.
Just stay with me. Speaking of those buildings that this plane has crashed into, and I'm sure the pilots would have tried to avoid as much as possible, but it looks like they really couldn't avoid crashing into a building. We have information that the flight has crashed into BJMC, which is a hostel where many MBBS students stay. And these are some visuals also that we were running earlier of the hostel, including the canteen, etc., where there is damage because of the impact of this airline crash. And we don't quite yet know what the damage could be as far as students there in the building is concerned. But certainly news is coming in that some of them have been injured, and we hope that they get quick treatment. Praful Patel, former aviation minister, is also joining us over the phone line. Mr. Patel, thanks a lot for your time. Extremely sorry scenes that are coming in from Ahmedabad, and of course news of heavy casualties as well.
Very saddened to hear and very distressed at the same time. It's one of the biggest tragedies in our country, and unfortunately, whatever visuals we are able to see on TV, that's all information we have. But considering that today's aircraft are very sophisticated, very technically advanced, to see a situation like this, unless we know the full details, will be very difficult to comment on that. But at the same time, whatever visuals we see on TV, our hearts go out to the passengers and their families. We don't know what is the fate of many, so I only pray and hope that most people survive this horrific crash.
Yes. The pilots were extremely proficient. Praful Patel, there are 133 casualties that we are getting latest updates on. We are hoping that some rescue operations are able to find some injured who can receive some treatment. But, many international passengers on board as well, and many countries on alert now, including UK. We are told that as many as 50 plus passengers were from UK. We are also told that former Gujarat Chief Minister, Mr. Rupani, was on board.
Well, I've seen Mr. Rupani's name on television, and having been a person who's known him for many years, I only hope and pray that he is well. At this moment, there is no information about any of the passengers. And of course, as you said, there are many passengers of different nationalities, mostly UK, besides Indians. And I think we really feel very sad, because at the same time, I would like to repeat that today's aircraft are very, very sophisticated. The pilots, especially who fly 787 Dreamliner, are obviously very well trained, and they are very senior commanders. And they've gone through many hours and hours of flying, and they would have obviously, it seems to me, whatever little I can make out from that the plane was on climb mode, and suddenly it's lost power or something else has happened, or maybe it was struggling at the time of takeoff. These are all very speculative things. But one thing is certain, if the pilot gave a mayday call, we don't know the exact time of when he gave the mayday call. Was it just immediately on climb, or
yes, soon after takeoff, sir. In fact, within a few minutes, it seems this flight has crashed. It had barely reached the height of 700 feet.
This flight couldn't have flown more than 60 seconds because of the very fact that it's just 825 feet into the air, which is virtually nothing. It just would not take more than 60 seconds. So it is very intriguing because of the, first, as I said, the aircraft itself has many backup systems. These are, very fly-worthy, very safe aircraft, and 787s are flying all over the world. In fact, I would be surprised to see that probably this may be the first major incident with a 787.
Yes, actually we have been confirmed, sir, that as far as a 787 Dreamliner is concerned, this is the first major such incident that has come to light. Boeing has had some issues with grounding and all. There have been investigations whether they have, not done enough as far as maintenance and certain other activities on planes are concerned. But this certainly is the major crash of its first of its kind when it comes to a 787 Dreamliner.
Well, absolutely. A 787 Dreamliner, as I said, is being flown by most airlines of the world. And it's a very, I would say, a workhorse. It's a good aircraft. And in this case, it's flown from Delhi to Ahmedabad. So obviously, it was absolutely flyworthy. Otherwise, no aircraft takes off. And pilots also, before they take off, they go through all the checks. And if they find anything missing, and especially if they are on a long-haul flight like London, they would be absolutely very careful to see all parameters are fine before they would take off.
Okay.
So obviously something has gone wrong after they started their roll on the runway for takeoff.
Yes.
And in between that and the climb, those 60 seconds have been, I'm sure, very, very the reason for whatever has happened.
Yes. I do thank you for joining us, Praful Patel, the ex-aviation minister. Also reading out what Prime Minister Narendra Modi has just put out. The tragedy in Ahmedabad has stunned and saddened us. It is heartbreaking beyond words. In this sad hour, my thoughts are with everyone affected by it, have been in touch with ministers and authorities who are working to assist those affected. We also know that Home Minister Amit Shah is traveling to Ahmedabad. My colleague Payal Mehta is also joining us with more on this. Payal, words coming in from Narendra Modi as well. Everybody offering, of course, their deepest thoughts to those who have been affected, including, of course, the families. Already 133 have been confirmed dead.
Yes, it is, of course, heartbreaking beyond words. That's what the Prime Minister really said. And this has happened in his hometown, which is in Ahmedabad. The tragedy in Ahmedabad has stunned and saddened everyone. He has been in touch with the ministers and the authorities who are working to assist those who are affected. He has already spoken to Bhupendra Patel, the Gujarat Chief Minister, already spoken and asked Ram Mohan Naidu, the Civil Aviation Minister, to rush as well, and constantly been in touch with Amit Shah, another union minister in his government, the Home Minister, another son of the soil. So they've all been rushed. Maximum help needs to be assured is what the Prime Minister has also indicated in as many words as well. But a real tragedy coming to the fore as well. Many people have been feared dead in this, in this ghastly crash that we've really seen. Of course, the investigation will follow soon as possible is what the government is assured. But it's a very heartbreaking moment because many citizens on board Shivani were not just Indian nationals, but foreign nationals as well. But the government of the day has assured that they will get to the bottom of this and understand why this really occurred. But like I said, the Prime Minister joining the nation in expressing his condolences to what has really happened and to the loved ones.
One of the biggest aviation crashes in Indian history, and of course certainly the first concerning a Dreamliner. I want to go across to Rajesh Patani, who's an eyewitness to what happened. Rajesh जी, आपने क्या देखा जब ये crash हुआ? आपने क्या देखा? आपको क्या दिखा? ये बताइए. राजेश जी, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है? आप क्रैश के वक्त कहाँ थे? आपने क्या देखा? ये बताइए. Let's try and reconnect. We're trying to get you some more eyewitness accounts, but of course visuals of the crash are on screen, and they show that the flight had barely taken off. Within less than a minute, of course, this flight has crashed. It seems the pilots have lost all control because they couldn't even deviate the flight from a what seems to be a residential area. There was, in fact, a MBBS students' hostel that has come into the path of this crashing airline. And the aircraft burst into flames immediately upon impact. Those visuals have also been caught by those who were living in the vicinity of the Ahmedabad airport. Captain Kishore Chinta continues to be with us. Captain, I want to understand from you, in such a short span of time, if both engines are lost, how much can captains do? How much can the pilots and the crew do in such a situation? What can they do?
There's not much the pilots can do other than look for an area where they can crash land the aircraft in the safest possible manner. So in this case, they barely had any height in hand to change the direction of the aircraft anywhere. See, the most prudent thing they could have done was to keep the wings level and glide into a path which is most safe, which would minimize casualties on impact with the ground, rather than having bank on, wherein the risk of the aircraft cartwheeling and more damage and more casualties. So the pilots probably did the most prudent thing, having probably lost power.
Okay, and how does this loss of power really happen? What causes it?
Loss of power could be either due to bird ingestion, the engine compressors stalling and not producing any more thrust. It would be really unlikely for engines of such magnitude and to lose power for any other reason for a technical defect just after takeoff. It's unheard of. It's those engines with 70,000 pounds of thrust have been tested multiple times, and one of the safest engines in the aviation world. So nothing else could have caused, in my opinion, the loss of power.
So this couldn't have been any kind of technical failure, and the most plausible reason you can think of is bird ingestion, but of the kind which took out both engines.
Yes, that's, like I said, we can only speculate as of now. I haven't heard of a technical defect taking out both the engines just after takeoff ever in the aviation history.
Right. Certainly what has transpired is shocking everyone. This is already, as experts have told us, the first of its kind crash, including involving a 787 Dreamliner. And the way this crash has transpired, soon after takeoff, within a minute of takeoff at very low altitude, seems to suggest the pilots lost all control. They couldn't even divert the plane to a safer area, and it crashed immediately within a minute of takeoff. What also is concerning is that they seem to have lost all control, so both engines were out. There was a mayday call given, but agencies tell us they didn't really manage to contact this flight after that. So it all points out to things going wrong very, very quickly. Harshit.
Yes.
Captain Kishore, I'm going to come back to you in just a bit. Harshit is an eyewitness of this crash. Harshit, आप कहाँ थे जब ये crash हुआ और आपने क्या देखा?
हम मेस में ही थे जहाँ पे ये प्लेन टकराया था.
अच्छा, तो आप स्टूडेंट हैं जो मेस में रहते हैं वहाँ पे हॉस्टल में?
हाँ, मैं कॉलेज से लाइब्रेरी से पढ़ के मैं यहाँ पे खाना खाने आया था 2 बजे.
तो फिर कैंटीन में भी वहाँ पे क्रैश हुआ प्लेन का पार्ट्स जो आप वहाँ पे खाना खा रहे थे?
हाँ, वहाँ पे वो सिर्फ टकराया था, प्लेन आगे क्रैश हुआ था.
अच्छा.
हमारी बिल्डिंग में सिर्फ टकराया था, इसलिए धमाके की आवाज आई.
अच्छा, आपके आसपास कितने लोग थे? कोई इंजर्ड है?
इंजर्ड इसमें ऐसा है कि जो बारी के पास खाना खाने बैठे थे उसको थोड़ा वो इंजरी हुई है, बाकी सब ठीक है.
अच्छा, कितने बच्चे हैं वहाँ पे?
खाना खाने के लिए तो यहाँ पे 50-60 लोग हम आए थे, ऊपर और नीचे दोनों.
अच्छा.
इंजरी सबको नहीं हुई है.
जी जी. और आपके हॉस्टल, आप किस हॉस्टल में रहते हैं और कितने लोग हैं वहाँ पे?
हम अतुल्य में 11 में रहते हैं.
कितने लोग होंगे पूरे हॉस्टल में? कितने लोग रहते हैं वहाँ पे?
हम तो MBBS स्टूडेंट ही वहाँ से 1 से 5 साल तक के सभी बच्चे वहीं पे ही रहते हैं.
अच्छा. और
वो सब इसी मेस में खाना खाने आते हैं.
जी जी जी. और उस वक्त 50-60 बच्चे वहाँ पे थे जिस वक्त ये
खाने हाँ, ये खाना खाने का ही टाइम था, इसलिए वो सब वहाँ पे ही थे.
जी. आपकी जो बिल्डिंग है उससे ये प्लेन टकराया नहीं है, ये आगे जाके एक बिल्डिंग में क्रैश हुआ है। तो आपको उस बिल्डिंग के बारे में कुछ पता है? क्या हुआ वहाँ पे, क्या देखा आपने?
वो अतुल्यम 1, 2 और 3 है, वहाँ पे वो रेसिडेंट डॉक्टर रहते हैं सभी, और ये सब मेडिसिटी के क्वार्टर्स ही है जहाँ पे ये प्लेन हादसा हुआ ना कोई।
तो जिस बिल्डिंग में क्रैश हुआ वहाँ पे रेसिडेंट डॉक्टर रहते हैं?
हाँ।
और उस बिल्डिंग में कितना इम्पैक्ट हुआ है, आपको कुछ जानकारी मिल रही है वहाँ पे?
ना
कोई
ना वो नहीं पता, नहीं पता।
जी जी, बट आपका जो हॉस्टल है वहाँ पे सब सेफ है? कुछ लोगों को इंजरी हुई है?
हाँ, हॉस्टल से ये मेस थोड़ा 1-2 किलोमीटर दूर है, इसलिए सब बच्चे हॉस्टल से मेस तक चल के खाना खाने जाते हैं, तभी ये सब हुआ।
अच्छा, मेस में उस वक्त जो थे वो सेफ हैं, लेकिन हॉस्टल में जाके ये बिल्डिंग में क्रैश हुआ है जहाँ पे रेसिडेंट डॉक्टर्स रहते हैं। दिस इज ऑल्सो एक्सट्रीमली कंसर्निंग। हर्षित, हमसे बात करने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। लेट्स ऑल्सो लिसन टू सम मोर रिएक्शंस कमिंग इन।
लगातार पिछले 2-2.5 घंटे से हमारी टीम उस पर काम कर रही है। हमारी सेक्रेटरी है, डीजीसीए है, एआई की टीम है, सभी लोग, हमारी विकास की टीम, सभी लोग एक साथ बैठकर वहाँ पे काम कर रहे हैं। और अभी हम डीजीसीए, हमारे सेक्रेटरी और मैं तो हम तो वहाँ पे अभी फिजिकली भी जा रहे हैं। प्रधानमंत्री जी इसका मॉनिटरिंग कर रहे हैं। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने नायडू जी से हमारी सभी लोगों से बात भी की है, वो मॉनिटरिंग कर रहे हैं। हमारे होम मिनिस्टर वहाँ पे पहुँच रहे हैं और मुझे लगता है कि सभी स्तर पे ये अभी राहत का कार्य बड़ी इमरजेंसी के तौर पर
सभी प्लेन का इंडिया के ऑडिट
नहीं। अभी तो आज मुझे लगता है कि पहली बात तो यह है कि हमें इससे पहले बाहर निकलना है। बाद में सब होगा, उसकी जांच होगी, उस पर रिपोर्ट आएंगे, उस पर असल में क्या रीजन है वो भी सामने आएगा। ये आज मुझे लगता है कि थोड़ा टाइम
इन कंपनीज जो है सारी एयरलाइन कंपनीज का वो बहुत सस्ता ले रही है क्या लोगों के जान को लेकर? क्योंकि कोई भी बारिश हो जाए तो प्लेन में कुछ होगा।
मुझे लगता है कि कोई जो रियल उसका रीजन है वो सामने आने तक थोड़ा सा
सर, जहाँ पे प्लेन गिरा वहाँ पे कुछ कैजुअलिटी हुई है?
लगता है, ऐसा लगता तो है, लेकिन थोड़ा सा मुझे लगता है कि ऑफिशियली थोड़ा सा
बिल्डिंग में कुछ लोग रह रहे थे ऐसे भी।
सर, डॉक्टर्स हॉस्टल बताया जा रहा है।
नहीं, यहाँ से एनडीआरएफ की टीम भी गई है, वहाँ पे बाकी सेना दल की टीम भी गई है। मुझे लगता है कि सभी जो टीमें हैं सभी लेवल पे वहाँ पे काम शुरू।
All right. There is, of course, all hands on deck approach as far as the aftermath of this aircraft crash is concerned. Not only are concerned ministers moving to Ahmedabad, Home Minister Amit Shah is also expected to travel to Ahmedabad. Captain Kishore Chinta continues to be with us. This is, of course, a situation that will possibly need a lot of investigation to figure out what exactly happened. Because it seems like a crash that hasn't really been seen of this nature and also of this aircraft itself before. So much deep investigation required as far as this case is concerned. Captain Kishore, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So the standard procedure of the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, which is already on site, will follow the laid down protocol for fatal accident like this, and I'm sure they will do the due diligence with all possible data that can be collected from the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder and the eyewitness accounts. I'm sure no stone would be left unturned by the AIB inquiry team. I myself have done a fatal accident investigation, and I'm sure the actual cause would come out in due course of time.
Can you just take us in detail into what exactly will go into the investigation of this crash? The black box is going to become extremely crucial.
Yes, ma'am. The flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder are manufactured to withstand crashes of this magnitude, and they will be recovered in due course of time. and they would be analyzed. All the data from the crash will be analyzed by the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau team. They will piece together every single aspect of the flight path and the possible causes of why and what happened, whether it was loss of power, whether it was a technical defect. Everything will be there in the flight data recorder, and they will be analyzing that, and they will analyze the flight path of the aeroplane based on the data available, and the Mayday call will be recorded on the CVR as well as the ATC transcript of the radio transmissions which they received. All this will be correlated, and then the inquiry team will piece together their facts and figures and come out with the conclusion on
From the initial information that we're getting, we're being told that after the Mayday call, there wasn't any contact that was available with this flight. What could have happened to make it unavailable? Captain Kishore, I want to understand from you, if there is loss of power, does that mean that all communication also goes away? Could the pilots have recorded? How would they? How would we know if this was a bird ingestion? Can the investigation of the remaining parts establish that? Will there be something recorded from the cockpit that can establish that?
There are enough standby.
We're losing that link with Captain Kishore Chinta. We'll try and get a better one. But this is, of course, a horrible crash that has come to light. It has really raised alarms as far as the nature of this crash is concerned. 230 passengers on board, 12 crew, including 2 pilots. Already we're getting figures that 133 have been declared dead. But of course, rescue operations are ongoing. There is firefighting operations that are ongoing. You can see those visuals where parts of the plane have actually crashed into the building and they have been stuck into the building debris as well. My colleague Payal also continues to join us. Payal, more updates coming in from your end. What all do we know about the efforts that are ongoing? Plus, who all is expected in Ahmedabad?
We've just learned that Civil Aviation Minister of State Muralidhar Mahol, the DGCA team, and of course Civil Aviation Secretary Mr. Samir Sinha, they're all being rushed to Ahmedabad also to be alongside Ram Mohan Naidu, Amit Shah and the others as well, and go into a thorough inquiry mode as far as so concerned into the entire matter. And we're given to understand that they're currently on their way to Ahmedabad, and they will also be, joining the team and joining the rescue and relief operation as far as this is really concerned, because it's an all hands on the deck approach that Prime Minister Narendra Modi really spoke about. Shivani, it is of course a very, very tragic episode which has come to the fore, and therefore Mr. Muralidhar Mahol, the Minister of State for Civil Aviation, along with the entire team from DGCA, the Civil Aviation Secretary, and the other technical officers are also being rushed to Ahmedabad just as we speak.
Yes. This is a crash that has really, in aviation history, experts point out, Payal, that this is definitely one of the worst crashes we have seen, and also given the aircraft involved and the nature of the crash, but also in India's history, this is one of the worst aviation tragedies we've seen.
Well, absolutely. Nobody ever is prepared, for something like this as well. But what really led to this crash? What were the technicalities involved? We will only know once the DGCA team reaches there, the investigation team reaches there, and they find a black box that, Anuj was speaking about a little while ago. And only then will we know what really led to the crash, because it is really important to understand what led to the failure and what led to this tragedy within probably 40 to 50 seconds of the pilot, reaching out to the ATC. So obviously, all of these things are going to be there, but as of now, the most important thing is to in fact ensure maximum rescue and relief operation. Therefore, all hands on the deck. Whether it's the Gujarat administration, the Gujarat Chief Minister, the Gujarat Home Minister, Union Home Minister, who is also a son of the soil. Ram Mohan Naidu also currently on his way. He's a Civil Aviation Minister, and so is Muralidhar Mahol.
Updates that we're getting, Payal, also tell us that the railways have also decided to operate certain special trains to and from Ahmedabad. Anything more you're learning on that?
Special trains are going to be in place for passengers to fly either from there to Mumbai or to Delhi, because, currently the airport at Ahmedabad stands shut as well. A lot of international flights are also likely to be diverted to other locations as well. So preparing for that, Ashwini Vaishnav, the Union Railways Minister, has just put out a series of tweets, essentially speaking about the kind of work that has to be done. And even if medical teams have to be rushed from nearby locations, the railways will also be putting in their maximum efforts as far as this is concerned. And again, like I said, it is a all hands on the deck approach that the Union government is adopting over here, because nothing more valuable than human lives being lost over here.
So, Payal, you're reporting that MOS Civil Aviation and DGCA Chief, Civil Aviation Secretary, all being rushed to Ahmedabad. They're about to reach the Delhi airport. But these are, of course, going to be special flights, isn't it? Because as you're mentioning, the Ahmedabad airport has been shut for civil activity as we speak. We're also getting updates that the Gujarat Chief Minister has reached the civil hospital where most of the dead are being taken. Most of the people or the dead bodies that have been taken there have, I believe, been declared dead on arrival. So not many survivors so far, but we're hoping for some good news as rescue and relief operations continue. But this is also going to be a huge challenge on ground. Those are some of the visuals coming in from on ground as well, Payal. Huge challenge on ground to ensure or to try to race against time to see if you can find any survivors.
Absolutely. Like I said, no country can ever be prepared for a tragedy like this. While all hands on the deck approach, and therefore the Civil Aviation Ministry has put all the resources together. The civil administration has also put in all these efforts together. Appeal is being made to all the citizens saying that do not rush to the airport or do not crowd around these areas. Make sure that we are able to get a green corridor in place should we need to rush somebody for medical emergency. Given the fact that, there are also the building on which the aircraft really fell also had some doctors who were housed over there.
Yes.
As well, so obviously the number of casualties are likely to go up. As far as Mr. Mohal is also concerned, it is pretty possible that he might just be on that flight with Union Home Minister Amit Shah. He's also Mr. Amit Shah's, MOS in the Ministry of Cooperation. So obviously he's been rushed. He was at the Civil Aviation Ministry just a short while ago. He's just been asked to rush from there immediately, along with all the officials as well. So obviously that is something which the government of India is looking to do to make sure that maximum efforts are there on ground.
Yeah. A high-level meeting has in fact been held at the Civil Aviation Ministry. Secretary and DGCA officials have attended. All of them have now been directed to move to Ahmedabad as well. Let me also go across to Mr. Sivaraman, who's formerly with the DGCA, joining us. Sir, your first thoughts on this massive tragedy? It seems like one of the worst airplane crashes, not just in India, but worldwide as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. First of all, my condolences to all those people who have lost their lives, and I pray for the recovery of any injured in this crash. It is really surprising to me also because I have seen a couple of accidents in my career as DGCA, investigated some of them, and also seen other accidents outside India. This is really strange because the aircraft had taken off normally, and at 800 feet it started going down flat. Which means it had lost its lift. I mean, that's what I can guess only because I am not an expert in this area, neither am I a great pilot or an engineer. But however, it seems after the first Mayday call, the pilot could not communicate with the ATC, which means a lot of things could have happened inside the aircraft, might have been filled with smoke, or the pilot would have been unconscious. Nobody knows what has happened because normally this is a very, very fine aircraft and very few crashes like this have taken place. And that too immediately after takeoff. Even if one engine had failed, the pilots are quite competent to handle it. And as it had taken off after 800 feet, he could have very well handled it. If both the engines had also failed, it would have been possible for him to land it. But quite possible that the plane did not have any lift at all for him to maneuver it to some space where he could have landed. One should not make any wild guesses. I'm reasonably certain that now they would be able to recover the black box, the CVR, and moreover, this aircraft can transmit its engine parameters to the ground. And I'm sure Air India would have set up these facilities. Similarly, the DFDR, which records all the flight data, they could have also been transmitted to the ground. Because these facilities have been in existence for a very, very long time. And I'm sure Air India would have seen to it that these facilities are available. And in this particular case, when I contrasted with the accident that took place of the Air India 320 in Bangalore, the authorities have acted very swiftly and they have acted magnificently, I must say. All the required help has been rendered to the people there on ground, and also people have been moved very fast from the accident area. I only pray that at least some people come out alive from this accident, and I hope that the authorities will be able to find out what really went wrong. One should not miss any aspect of investigation, particularly in these very tense times. Because, I mean, I don't want to be very explicit on this matter, but every angle should be explored and every possible agency should be involved in investigating this accident.
Sir, in your experience, what follows next as far as the investigation itself is concerned?
See, as far as investigation is concerned, earlier as DGC, I used to conduct the investigation myself. Now they have got an investigation board, and I'm sure Accident Investigation Board, the DGC authorities should be fully involved along with them, and they should not be excluded from it. The Federal Aviation Authority, they have got excellent facilities. They have investigated many, many accidents in the world. They should be involved. The engine manufacturer, particularly the GE, should be involved. The aircraft manufacturer, Boeing, all of them without hesitation should be part of the accident investigation, because we must get to the truth of this entire thing.
Yes. No, absolutely. This is one of the worst crashes, especially given its nature as well. In aviation history, all around the world, there is much alarm, and condolences and thoughts are coming in from across the world. Captain Sam Thomas, former pilot, is also with us. Captain, your thoughts? Any thoughts on what you think could have gone wrong?
Good evening. I don't really want to hazard a guess as to what has actually happened. And while our thoughts and prayers are with the victims, what I'd like to say that with the limited evidence that we have, and we are seeing through the visuals that the aircraft has lost power on, or rather is not generating lift enough, and that can only happen when both engines are not developing power. And the reason for that can only be found out once we have the DFDR data. And until then, it's in the realms of speculation. And we understand that people are interested in knowing exactly what has happened. To that extent, we can only say that the weather seems absolutely clear. And the reason for losing power on both engines is extremely rare. If you recollect, there was an incident on the Hudson, where an A320 lost both its engines to bird hit, and a lot of people are drawing that comparisons. This airplane, the 787, is a much bigger airplane, and problems to a single engine, or leave alone both engine catastrophic failure. So at the moment we have very, very sketchy details, and the Aircraft Accident Investigation Board would be in a much better position to bring out these details. And at the moment, the incoming details that we have is that both the engines did not develop sufficient power.
Yes. I'm going to come to you on that issue of how both engines can go out, because that's extremely rare. That doesn't really happen. And that is really raising alarm here. But we also have a video that has been shot by one of the passengers. I'm told a British passenger who was on board before the crash. Let's just play that out.
We are at the airport, just boarding. Goodbye, India.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
10-hour flight back to England.
What's your biggest takeaway, Jamie?
We've done this already.
On a different thing.
Oh, right. What's my biggest takeaway? I don't know.
Yeah, fascinating. Great. Thanks. Thanks for your contribution. Okay. Yeah, my biggest takeaway is don't lose your patience with your partner.
Yeah. You're already starting to. You've already snapped at me while we're having chai at the airport. I can see you've learnt nothing.
Going back happily, happily, happily calm. We are in the airport, just boarding. Goodbye, India.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
10-hour flight back to England.
What's your biggest takeaway, Jamie?
We've done this already.
On a different thing.
Oh, right. What's my biggest takeaway? I don't know.
Yeah, fascinating. Great. Thanks. Thanks for your contribution. Okay. Yeah, my biggest takeaway is don't lose your patience with your partner.
Yeah. You're already starting to. You've already snapped at me while we're having chai at the airport. I can see you've learnt nothing.
Going back happily, happily, happily calm. We are in the airport, just boarding. Goodbye, India.
Well, that seems to be a video made by two passengers, British passengers, young men who were going back to England. They were happy about it and, just kind of points out the fickleness of life. Nobody could have really seen this coming. Captain Sam Thomas, former pilot, and Mr. Sivaraman, who's formerly with the DGCA, both on the show with us. I do thank you for your time. Captain Sam Thomas, I just want to take your thoughts once again because our viewers would be curious to know how can both engines go out? That seems to be the case here, given how quickly the flight crashed and the fact that the pilots didn't seem to be in any control. They didn't seem to have any communication left with the ATC. What can really cause this?
A variety of reasons can cause it, but in this particular case, what has happened, we would not know until we have the details. Now, you asked of both engine failures. It has happened just short of London Heathrow once with a 777, and that was due to fuel starvation. Now, if both the engines do not get adequate fuel, it could result in both the engines flaming out. Now, but that is a very, very, very rare scenario. And in this particular case, we don't know how both the engines have failed, or indeed, we are speculating this from the visuals that we have. So it's evident to a certain extent that there is a loss of thrust on both engines, but we would not be absolutely sure on that till such time that the DFDR shows us the results.
I want to ask Mr. Sivaraman also, how long do you think an investigation into a crash like this will take? All right, I think I've lost Mr. Sivaraman. Captain Sam Thomas, do you want to just take this question? How long do you think an investigation of a crash of this nature may take? How quickly can we get to the bottom of what happened?
The DGCA would allocate this investigation to the Air Accident Investigation Board, AAIB, and they would put out a preliminary report in about 30 days. And thereafter, based on whatever information they are able to gather from the engine manufacturer, from the OEM, that's Boeing, and may take assistance of other investigative agencies, because not very many qualified investigators are there in India, and it should take about a year. That's my experience with air accident investigation, and it generally takes about a year at least.
Currently, of course, rescue operations are the chief priority, and all of the ministries concerned, including the Home Ministry and the Civil Aviation Ministry, are concerned only with that. Those are hospital visuals also coming in. There seem to be some who are injured, but we are unsure whether they are passengers who have been brought in an injured situation, or these are people who were in the buildings surrounding where the crash took place. Because the unfortunate part is, Captain Thomas, is that this flight actually crashed into buildings. And unfortunately, we're getting updates that the buildings that it crashed into had MBBS doctors, resident doctors, etc., staying in that hostel.
Very tragic, very tragic. It does happen that when an airplane crashes and in a thickly populated area, there would be collateral damage on ground as well. It's very, very unfortunate, and unfortunately, that is the nature of the beast, and very little we can do about it, except extend, the hospital services to the injured and minimize whatever damage that has already occurred by providing proper medical assistance timely.
The area around the airport perimeter was, as the visuals themselves show, densely populated. Clearly, there were some facilities there as well for MBBS doctors, hostels and multiple buildings of that nature with messes, etc. and several buildings housing medical students. Do you think there could be a need to expand the non-residential or commercial areas around airports?
That may not be viable at the moment. If you look at the Mumbai airport, which is the current airport, not the Navi Mumbai, the Chhatrapati Shivaji International Airport, it is very, very densely packed up to the compound wall on both sides of the runway. Up to it touches the compound wall. So Ahmedabad is much, much better compared to what Mumbai is. And it may not be commercially viable to clear out vast areas near the airport, because it's not unusual when old Hong Kong was there. That also was, and I've flown to many, many international countries which have buildings very close to the airport.
How rare is it for a flight to crash so soon after takeoff?
See, a crash as such can happen at any phase of the flight. Though the takeoff and landing are some of the phases that most commonly it happens, but there is no set rule that it could happen only at this phase of flight. It could happen at any phase of the flight. And takeoff and landings are more critical than, say, a climb or a cruise.
Yes. In this situation, Captain Thomas, it seems like the pilots didn't have any time at all. This could have transpired within a minute of takeoff.
Yes, because the altitude reported and what we have right now is 741 feet or 800 feet, which is pretty quick. They have also given a mayday call. And actually there is very little time to do. If you've lost both engines, there is very little you can do. And the more you try to deviate from the path, the faster you're going to stall. So what they have done from the visuals seems to be the only choice that they had and the only natural way to do it.
Losing both engines so soon after takeoff, we were being told that this flight, of course, the airplane had no issues. It had flown earlier today. It had reached Ahmedabad and was onward to London. There didn't seem to be any problems. Any guesses as to, how, apart from, let's say, bird ingestion issues, what else could cause this so quickly?
I mean, our business, you really don't hazard a guess, because then we lose face within the community. So, because that is not something that is done. I understand.
But any technicalities that could come into play here?
Very difficult to say, ma'am. It's how to lose both engines. I can't recollect. I mean, except for the Hudson landing and the Heathrow, I think in the history of aviation, we've had very, very few dual engine failures. So there is not sufficient data to point to the fact that, this could cause, of course, fuel starvation or fuel that is contaminated is one of the reasons. But other than that, I don't know anything else that could bring down both engines, that too of a 787.
Yes, and this is why whatever experts we're speaking to, Captain, we're asking the same question and again, because the nature of the crash is raising alarm, isn't it? So soon after takeoff, even though takeoffs are sensitive, but losing both engines, crashing into a building and literally no time that had elapsed for a flight that was clearly deemed to be fit. There were no issues with the airplane that had come to light. Earlier, I was speaking to a captain who pointed out that around this airport, there are many bird-related issues. Is that the only plausible reason that comes to mind?
I do understand. I have operated to Ahmedabad several times and there is a bird issue. But once again, you would need very large birds and a large number of birds to put both the engines off. Which is very, very unlikely. I know all over India we have a bird problem. That's in Bangalore we have a bird problem, but not significant enough to affect the engines of a 787. These are very big engines, very reliable engines. Even if you were to hit a bird, it will ingest it and throw it out pretty quickly.
Right. We're also playing out those visuals that are coming in of the Chief Minister having reached the civil hospital. Major focus right now is on getting help on ground, both at the crash site and also, of course, as far as medical facilities are concerned. We're getting to know from CRPF that about 150 personnel are involved in rescue operations. And we're also getting to know that some operations have begun, in fact, at the Ahmedabad airport. SpiceJet, one of the airline operators, have put out a tweet saying that operations have resumed. Passengers are advised to check their flight status regularly via their website. So we were being told earlier that till 5 p.m. there would be a cancellation of all airport activity, given the nature of this attack the nature of this crash having taken place so close to the airport premises. But at least as far as other operations are concerned, we are being told that they may be up now. People in Gujarat, the government, the agencies are working against time to ensure that they can mobilize as much help as possible. Visuals coming in from that civil hospital as well, where the Gujarat Chief Minister is also visible. He's visiting the facilities. I'm not sure of how many injured have been brought in so far. We don't have any update on that. But certainly we did get an update earlier that 133 have already been declared dead. That's almost half of the passengers list. 30 passengers were on board, plus 12 crew, including 2 pilots as well. All authorities are working to ensure that they can first focus on ensuring that both the crash site and other facilities are up to speed. BSF has also pushed 2 teams. CRPF Rapid Action Force, 100 personnel have been sent, and from Group Center in Gandhinagar, 50 personnel have been told to reach Ahmedabad. I'm also joined by Captain C.S. Randhawa, who's president of the Federation of Indian Pilots. Thanks a lot for joining us, Mr. Captain Randhawa. Your first thoughts on this crash that has taken place?
It was an extremely tragic crash which has happened in Ahmedabad. And I came to know about just about 1 hour and 30 minutes after the crash. And I could attribute this maybe due to birds, because Ahmedabad has got a big problem about birds. So until unless, because the captain has given a mayday call. So a mayday call, if it was one engine failure, he could have easily handled it. Even if it was an engine fire, he could have handled it. So the 2 possibilities which are very, very likelihood which could have taken place is both engine failure due to bird strike or some jamming of the control.
And how does that, we've spoken about bird ingestion issue and how rare that would be for both engines to go out because of that issue so quickly after takeoff. But you're talking about these jamming issues. Can you explain what they are and how they happen?
The jamming of the control could have taken place, maybe the elevator, because that is what is responsible for the aircraft to lift off. And I presume that the aircraft has initially taken off and maybe about 200-300 feet, and 200 feet you engage the autopilot. And thereafter it has started descending, if you see the video. Now I'm going by the total video clip. Rest will come out in the DFDR and the CVR, what has taken place, because there has been no call after the pilot has given the mayday call.
Right. Exactly. There has been no communication after the mayday call. Yes.
No communication whatsoever. And like once in a million chance it does happen, like we saw the Hudson crash where the aircraft was ingested, both the engines were flamed out by the ingestion of the birds. So there is a possibility because I have flown a lot over Ahmedabad and I have done a lot of training flights, 20 landings in a day I have done, training. So birds are a big problem there. There is no doubt about it. So I foresee a very high chance of both engine failure.
That's what most experts are pointing out to, that we have spoken.
Yes.
But even that is extremely rare, isn't it? Both engines just don't go off.
Yes, it is. It is a very rare possibility, but possible. In aviation, sometimes things happen the first time because it's not an old machine. It's a new aircraft, maybe about 7, 8 years old, and a technical fault like this has never taken place on I have flown the 777 and of course on the 787 also I was converted. So these aircraft are unlikely to have such problems. Till now in the world, they have had no problem on the 787 and the 777s.
Yeah.
So very high possibility of a bird ingestion because he's given a mayday call. Now that depends that what that mayday call was.
So, sir, in your experience, these
Yeah.
moments, what would these moments have been like for the captains in the cockpit?
I would say the pilot, when he's given the mayday call, he was knowing that it's a no-go situation. It is the end. Because height is not there at all. You see, height was not there and nothing the pilot could have done. It is just after liftoff. At least when the Hudson crash took place, he had the height, he put the aircraft down in the Hudson Bay. But in this case, he had no, I don't think so he had any control, and the aircraft has just gone on the takeoff path and outside the perimeter, that's gone and crashed in the populated area.
Very unfortunate, Captain Randhawa. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Very, very unfortunate situation there, viewers. What a tragedy to be covering. It's completely, the heart sinks every time you see those pictures. I'm joined by Praful Patel, former Union Aviation Minister. Mr. Patel, this has happened in Ahmedabad. Not very often that Indian aviation is caught up in an incident such as this. The last time there was one was, of course, during COVID, and before that, substantial time had elapsed for 2010. What are your first thoughts when you see some of these pictures, Mr. Patel, and a comment generally on Indian aviation, safety protocols in Indian aviation?
I'm very shocked and distressed and very sad that such an incident has taken place. And you're right, after many years, it's not very often that we see such tragic incidents in Indian aviation. And let me tell you that on the whole, when you talk of safety and systems, I can assure you that Indian aviation is probably one of the safest in the world. We have all the protocols in place. Our DGCA is very robust and effective. And to find, to pick holes into our ability to manage Indian aviation would be very unfair. And I always say this, and I repeat, that aviation is either 100% or zero. There's nothing like 99.9% in aviation. And therefore, in this case also, look at the aircraft. It arrived from Ahmedabad from Delhi. Obviously, it flew without any issue. And to take a 9.5-hour journey from Ahmedabad to London, obviously the pilots would have done all the pre-flight checks. And no pilot is foolish enough to take off if he is not satisfied. The captain per se in this aircraft would have also had thousands and thousands of hours of command. And a 787 and today's aircraft per se are very robust, fail-safe. They have many backup systems. And to really think what went wrong, I would be hazarding a guess, which would not be fair. But the point here is the aircraft did go on a takeoff roll. And between the time the wheels went up and the time it crashed, probably the time frame would have been almost only about 60 seconds or so, because you can't go to 800 feet and crash and it be within less. I mean, the time span is only 60 seconds. Now, he's already given a mayday call. Now, I don't know what exactly went wrong. It will be, again, hazarding a guess, which would be unfair. The only thing which can be ascertained is now, since the aircraft has fallen just a few hundred meters from the airport and in the BJ Medical Complex, therefore, to retrieve the black box and the other equipment would be also, quite simple. We would be able to ascertain only after that. Let me tell you one more thing. In today's aircraft, they are very sophisticated. All the parameters of an aircraft, right? Every single second the aircraft is in the air, all the parameters are recorded, not only by the aircraft, but they're also transmitted to a central command, real time, of the airline itself. So if there is, when an aircraft does a flight, there is a way to ascertain every single parameter during whatever the duration of the flight. So if anything would have gone wrong prior to this flight, or which may have escaped the attention of anybody, I'm sure this will be retrieved in no time once the equipment is found.
Now, Mr. Patel, just to go back in time, because this fleet, the Dreamliner, very, very safe. I think from what the experts are saying, and I only have them to sort of lean on for facts, they've said that this is the first time a Dreamliner has actually crashed anywhere in the world. Now, most of these Dreamliners were purchased, I suppose, about 10, 12, 15 years back by Air India when it was still government-owned. Obviously, there would have been a huge procedure that must have unfurled within government to select the plane. There would have been due diligence. There would have been all sorts of studies that would have been conducted.
Well, most certainly. I mean, first, the procedure itself in government is a very robust procedure. Goes through several layers. And ultimately, the basic selection of aircraft is done only on technical parameters. Because, the airline, requires a certain type of aircraft for certain, lengths of the flights. You want to go to the US, you want to go to the European countries, or to, 8-hour flights, 12-hour flights, and so on. And the kind of configuration you want. Let me also tell you that the Dreamliner, at the time it was ordered, was one of the most sophisticated, advanced fly-by-wire aircraft which was going to be produced. And it was ordered by probably most major airlines in the world, Air India also being one of the early ones. And to now even discuss it would be unfair, because after this particular aircraft itself, which has crashed, had been flying for almost 11 years. And if you see any major airline in the world, and if you go at any moment of time, there would be more than 1,000 787s up and flying any part of the world. So I'm sure when, of course, the orders are placed, every other parameter is also examined. And of course, it is the airline's requirement which primarily drives what is the choice of aircraft. Let me also remind you that in the world for wide body, you only have 2 aircraft manufacturers. You have a Boeing and an Airbus, and the comparable aircraft are a 350 for the Airbus or a 787 Dreamliner for Boeing. So it's not really that we are ending up with too many choices. And let me be honest, whether it's a Boeing 787 or an A350 of Airbus, technically, technologically, they would all be on par in terms of efficiency. So it's a minor thing between one and the other. But the fact of the matter is, all the machines flying today, irrespective of this type of aircraft, are very, very robust and sound. And every aircraft has backup after backup. I don't think, I mean, of course, the pilot's efficiency, his knowledge, his presence of mind is the most important factor in any aircraft flying. But even technically, an aircraft, is so designed that it can overtake a lot of functions which a human, mind and hand cannot, perform in the shortest possible time. So the response time of an aircraft, its systems are very, very robust.
Here, of course, there seems to have been a catastrophic failure of lift, and that didn't give the pilot, even though very experienced pilot with lots of man hours of flying, didn't give much of time to the pilot to even react. And only a mayday call, and as you said yourself, 60 seconds, and it was down laden with fuel. Obviously, there will be questions asked. I'm at this moment as in the dark as anyone else, Mr. Patel, about what could have been the reasons, but there has been a lot of internal strife within Tata. After it took over this particular airline, Singapore Airlines came into it, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of cost cutting, lots of valuable AI senior engineers were sort of let go of. Could this have, at some level, affected operations, maintenance, checks, all of that? Do you think, or it's too premature to get into any of this?
I think it is premature. See, the other point is, Rahul, that the fact of the matter is that there's a human being, a senior experienced captain who's flying the machine.
Yeah.
And he has every right to say, I cannot fly this machine because it is unfit to fly or there's a technical deficiency. And if there was one, he wouldn't have done it himself.
Yes.
So I think it's hazarding a little bit of a wild guess. Yes, but I would also like to say that, the maintenance of Air India compares to the best anywhere in the world. Now, yes, you are also plagued with certain older aircraft. You are plagued with certain other problems, like you just said, because it's been, integration of the old with the new. But that does not come into the way of the safety of the aircraft per se. And I would therefore say, and I can also say with a lot of sense of confidence, that Indian aviation checks and balances of the DGCA and other, the airline also has its own manual. The airline also has its own SOPs. Airlines don't cut corners, especially an airline like Air India, to, save cost or something just for the heck of making small money. I would say that Air India as an airline has its own SOPs put very, very strongly in place. And again, this commander, or many of the commanders, or most of the commanders, I would say, flying a 787 have so many thousands and thousands of hours of pilot in command that they know the aircraft inside out. They know everything what needs to be done, and I don't think an aircraft flying to London on a 9.5 hour flight would have taken off without the proper pre-flight checks by the captain or his second in command.
What would you now say in the aftermath to passengers? Remember, the aviation sector was really, really coming back after COVID, the disruption of COVID, one of the hardest hit sectors, as we know. But it's really bounced back. We have record number of flights, record number of airports opening across the country. I am sure for a few days there's going to be some consternation, maybe even a little bit of apprehension in the minds of a large number of passengers, civilians, customers, etc. What's your message to them?
Well, my message is that, very sad and tragic. I'm sure people do get shaken up when they see such, visuals on their screen. But aviation still, by far, is the safest mode of transportation anywhere in the world. And if you consider the accident to the number of flights ratio, I think it will be far, 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 safer than any other public transport. So let's not panic. Let's not think that this could be, an everyday affair. And we should be patient, confident, and also be confident that our aviation in India is absolutely in good shape. Let's not, see one incident. This accident unfortunately happened in India. Probably it could have happened anywhere in the world. When we see a visual in any other part of the world, we don't get so upset. Because it's happened in our country, we will certainly be, stirred and shaken. Let's just have faith. Our aviation sector is good, sound, safe, And this is, of course, a lesson. We should, strengthen our systems even further. And we should learn from some things. If at all, the inquiry, once it's complete, will, throw up some definitely revelation as to what has happened. So we should be, concerned, but we shouldn't be scared, and we shouldn't, stop flying or reduce our flying, or, every time you fly, you start praying to God. Of course, we pray otherwise, but we don't have to worry about safety and pray. That's all I'm trying to convey.
Right, Mr. Patel. On that note, thank you very much for speaking to us as we pray, of course, for those who were in harm's way. You're seeing that building. Thank you, Mr. Patel, very much for speaking to me.
My thoughts and prayers
yes.
are with everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You see that visual on the left of your screens, viewers? That's the tail of the plane that has crashed through a hostel attached to a medical college just outside the perimeter wall of this particular airport in Ahmedabad, the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport. And we're apprehending that there might be casualties because this accident took place at around 1:45, and it was lunch hour, and there were many students, many doctors, aspiring doctors in the canteen, and the plane crashed into the canteen, and those visuals tell the story. Viewers, very quickly, let me give you a quick update. Operations have resumed at the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport in Ahmedabad. This is PIB India putting out that update. The airlines and the Aviation Ministry have put out a medical emergency helpline and a control room helpline. It's 0793508211. That number will flash as it is right now under our screen. You can see it. Can call in if you have apprehensions that some of your relatives or others that you know might actually be in harm's way. I want very quickly to give you a quick overview, viewers, as we continue our coverage. The RPF disaster management team, headed by ASC and ADI, plus 6 staff, along with hospital team, 6 doctors, 20 staff and 7 ambulance, rendering all possible help in rescue operation. The tragic Air India flight crash at Ahmedabad. We don't still know if there have been any survivors. We are gleaning through data that is coming in through the hospitals to figure that one out, but quite clearly that's the timeline to the right of your screens. At 1:39 it takes off. Within 60 seconds it has a catastrophic loss of lift. The plane goes down, goes crashing into a building which was attached to a hospital, education institution, goes straight into that building. The building itself is covered by ATF. The plane was loaded with ATF because, as you know, it was taking off to travel to Gatwick Airport in London, or the extremities of London. The MEA has reacted and said that details would be shared with governments of foreign countries, because there were a number of citizens from other nations on board this international flight. Air India chairman N. Chandrasekaran is likely to reach Ahmedabad tonight. That's what we're being told. Large number of residents, we're being told, are also feared dead after the aircraft crashed into the Atulyam super speciality doctor's residence. At the time of the incident, around 200 people were residing in the building, the 94 flats there, and you can see the absolutely charred super frame of that building after the plane dived into it, completely losing control. There was a mayday call that was issued by the pilots before the ATC could even sort of respond. The plane went down in that ball of fire. We're also being told that the Ahmedabad airport that had been shut down has now been reopened, and flight safety protocols are being followed with utmost care. There are also directions that have gone out to prevent people when they take off, take photographs. So you won't be allowed to do all of that, because clearly the flight path. Let me go across to Payal for more updates. We're told that Union Home Minister Mr. Amit Shah will be landing there forthwith. Payal, what are the updates?
As far as the Ahmedabad airport is concerned, Rahul, is one of the busiest airports in Gujarat, because not only does it have so many domestic flights coming, It's a busy destination as far as businesses are concerned, but it also has a lot of international connectivity as well. But that airport has been opened up, in a calibrated manner. So passengers have been requested that they should check the timings of the flight, etc., and only then move to the airport. As far as the Union Home Minister is concerned, he is expected to reach there in some time. And the Civil Aviation Minister, Ram Mohan Naidu, is also expected to reach anywhere between 5:30 and 6 p.m. And just a short while ago, Muralidhar Mohal, the Minister of State for Civil Aviation, along with all the DGC officials, along with the Civil Aviation Secretary, Mrs. Samir Sinha, they are all on board, so they should also be landing in Ahmedabad in a couple of hours as well. And this flight of happiness and hope, has turned into a flight of tragedy for so many people, who were looking to go back to their homes, especially the foreign nationals, and to many as well. So, our hearts really go out to these people. But, like I said, the government of the day has said that they'll get to the bottom of this, and nobody who is involved with any negligence whatsoever will be spared, is what we're given to understand. But yes, flights are going to be resuming in a calibrated manner, and therefore all kind of numbers, whether it's medical emergency numbers or numbers concerning finding the loved ones even at hospitals, etc., have been put out by the civil administration. Bhupendra Patel, the Chief Minister, was at the civil hospital just a short while ago. So all hands on the deck approach, Rahul.
Absolutely. There are also more updates that are coming in, viewers, as we scroll through the news updates that are coming up on my screen here. We're also being told that the Air India has called upon the authorities to investigate and ensure that all examinations, forensic examinations of the crash site, etc., are conducted utmost. We're also being told that Air India management officials have held meetings with DGCA staff. Air India has been asked to submit the health report of all their aircrafts. There are also some pictures that make the heart really weak coming in from inside the mess of the hostel where the plane crashed. Devastating scenes there. One just hopes that the casualty figures are not as high as what appears from the scene of devastation. We're being told that former Chief Minister of Gujarat, Mr. Rupani, was on board. We don't still know whether he has survived this or he's injured. We have no updates really on his well-being, but he was a former Chief Minister of Gujarat from 2016 to 2021, the state president of Gujarat. When his name was declared as the Chief Minister, he took over from Anandiben Patel, Miss Anandiben Patel, former MP from the Rajya Sabha and a two-time MLA, hailed from Rajkot West, came from an influential Jain community. He didn't fight the 2022 assembly poll, citing his wish to step back from electoral politics. He was currently in charge of Punjab for the BJP and was on his way to England and was aboard that flight. There are pictures also coming in of the ill-fated crew of this flight, and we're told that there were at least 10 crew members on board this flight from different parts of the country. Many leaders, many countries are extending commiserations, shock at the events. Remember, this is the first time in recorded history that the Dreamliner has gone down. Very, very reliable aircraft. Many people are convinced that this aircraft could not have suffered the failures that are being attributed to it. But viewers, as we know, one can't give in to speculation. This is an extremely sensitive situation right now, and therefore one cannot hazard any information on what could have gone wrong in a speculative way. We're being told now, no survivors of this crash, but we are going to not take that at face value till the authorities come out and give us some sort of a confirmation. But Payal, it does seem that the outlook is not good. Okay, we don't have Payal. We're going to go back to Payal in just a few moments. But hotline numbers have been set up for people to check in and find out on the state of affairs and, of course, on their own relatives. We're being told that there were 53 British nationals, 7 Portuguese, and 1 Canadian on board this Air India flight. 169 Indian nationals were on board. It was a flight that was almost full. Ahmedabad-London flight. And at this time of the year, viewers, there is huge traffic between the two destinations, given the fact that this is a peak holiday season. I want to go straight across to Anvit. Anvit, a lot of people heading out to London on this particular flight. We're getting some details. We're being told unofficially that the possibility of survivors is very, very slim. What's the update that you're getting?
Yeah, certainly, you see, Rahul, death toll is what we are being unofficially confirmed by the sources on ground. It is being said that it has already been counted up to 150, and it certainly is unfortunately expected to only rise from here, because the kind of incident it was, and we initially also saw how the plane went up in flames. It clearly was indicative of the fact that the number of casualties and fatalities would certainly be high. Not just those in the plane, but also on ground. The collateral damage that it has caused, because it was a heavily residential area, and the building in which the plane had crashed, which was the doctor's hostel, that also, from there also, a number of occupants had to be rushed to medical facilities, and deaths have been reported from there as well. So ground damage certainly is there, but all what we are being told by the officials who are in this rescue operation, that number of survivors is really, really bleak, as what we are getting from the ground. Also, because the incident that this is, and what we are being told by the experts, is that the two major chances that this incident took place, one is dual engine failure, which could be, one reason could be power outage, or another reason could also be bird ingestion. But it is also being said that it's very unlikely that bird ingestion would cause both engines to go down. Another reason what we're learning is could be control jamming, which is also a subject matter of investigation, and the AIB will now take over the investigation, as their teams are already on ground, and investigation in this manner will also be done. But what we are learning from the ground is, yes, that the fatalities have increased to more than 150, and chances of any survivors are really, really bleak, which is unfortunate.
Well, that is very, very sad news, if true. We're going to hold back on giving you those numbers, because we don't have confirmation from official sources, and CNN News 18 will not report casualty figures, even speculate on casualty figures, given the fact that this would be extremely traumatic. That's the moment of crash, viewers. You can see that the plane lost its ability to lift off. Even its, as you can see, landing gear had not been retracted. So, moment the plane takes off, it presumably experienced a catastrophic loss of lift, as some of our experts have told us. The pilot had very little time to react, about a minute, in which a mayday call was issued to the ATC. The ATC responded to the mayday call, got no response, looked out and saw a ball of flames engulfing the skyline. And a minute after crash it was, because as you know, our planes do travel at a particular speed, therefore it becomes easy to assess the length that they would have traversed, and therefore back calculate the time that they would have spent on air, in air that is. And you can see that ball of flames going up, lighting up the sky and completely overshadowing the afterground. And that is because this plane was laden with ATF. It had just been refueled. It's taking off. It had come in from Delhi, we are told, landed in Ahmedabad, was obviously surveilled for and examined for any technical issues, maintenance, etc. The plane then crashes into a building. The building is part of a medical establishment, and the exact building it crashes into is a canteen. And lunch hour was on, it was in the middle of lunch hour, and parts of the fuselage and debris from the plane lying littering this particular building. And you can see that the tail section of this building is sticking out. Tail section of the plane is sticking out of the building, and inside we're told there were several doctors who were undergoing training, and those people have been injured. Some of them might not have made it out. There are, of course, more visuals of the debris on fire in the immediate aftermath. You can see the ground scorched, trees, just about anything within the perimeter of the crash site reduced to ash, carbon. You can see those pictures. Part of the building also engulfed in ATF, singed and covered in soot. complete devastation. All these pictures coming in, obviously an attempt being made to douse the fire, but it's a bit too late. All of these are the buildings next to the wreckage near the plane crash site. A large number of parts of the plane strewn all over the place, and that's the frontage of this building, which has been reduced to ash. It's covered in soot because, as I told you, the plane was laden with ATF, and you can see other remnants of this plane, electronic parts, etc., strewn all over the place. There is some piece of luggage that might have survived, but most of this particular craft consumed completely, and that's the debris that is being removed, is salvaged. Obviously, there would be a desperate search for the black box because that needs to be taken and examined to determine what could have gone wrong. Right now, no use speculating on it beyond the fact that the plane suffered a catastrophic loss of lift. Now, what that was due to, we don't know. Was it engine failure? Was it a bird hit? We have no clue. And these are survivors who are being rushed to hospitals. We don't quite know if these are passengers or if these were people on the ground or they were the young doctors. Let's go back to Anvit. Anvit, these people who are being wheeled into the hospital, do we have any clarity on who they are? What's the nature of their injuries, etc.? Okay, we don't quite have him, but there is a lot of grief, a lot of shock on the ground, and you can see that being reflected on the faces of some of those people who were witnesses. It must have been very, very traumatic, not just for those who came and bid their loved ones farewell, but also those in England who were expecting their loved ones to land in the next 11 hours or so. These scenes, viewers, are extremely unfortunate. This particular brand of aircraft, the Dreamliner, has not in its history suffered a crash. And we can tell you that Boeing shares are crashing right now across the globe because, once again, there are questions being asked of the company. Boeing has had its issues. It was caught up in a lot of issues related to its operations, etc. There have been many strikes within Boeing, talking about corners being cut, etc., etc. I don't want to go there because that's a whole different can of worms, might even be unrelated totally to the aircraft they produce, because the aircraft has performed extremely well, known for being very, very dependable and extremely efficient, and therefore a large number of these prototypes were sold. More than 1,000 have been sold since the Dreamliner. This particular Dreamliner was brought into service and incepted and inceptualized. So there you have it, viewers. These are the pictures coming from all the parts of the city. Ahmedabad right now is caught in the grip of this crisis, and heart goes out to those who were expecting or are expecting the kith and the kin of these passengers. We're expecting for them to have a safe flight. Let me go across to Anvit. Anvit, what is the latest coming in on perhaps the preliminary estimations as to what might have gone wrong? Any more details about the circumstances under which this flight took off? Anvit, can you hear me? Okay, Anvit, can you hear me? Are you there with us? Flight AI 171 Ahmedabad to London, reportedly carrying 242 passengers. Troops of involved in rescue operations. More details, of course, waited on casualty figures, but we're told that the prognosis is not too bright, that many people would have perished in this. The details, of course, to the left of your screens. Anvit, if you're there, can you hear me? Yes. What are the details we have? We know for sure that the Dreamliner, this particular make of the Dreamliner, has never had a crash. And it's the first crash anywhere in the world of a Dreamliner, of 787 Dreamliner. It had a call sign VTANB, was the 26th to have been purchased by Air India. These are numbers, of course. Data don't tell the entire story. What are you learning from your sources?
Certainly, see, like you rightly pointed out, that Dreamliner and Boeing 787s do not have a history of such incidents, and since their introduction in probably 2011, this is the first Boeing 787 Dreamliner that is reportedly crashed or met with a mishap that we are reporting on. And if we talk about the situation on ground, visuals are really scary. death toll has already crossed what unofficial figures are around 150. And the sources that are on ground are reporting that it is likely to grow because the kind of incident it was, and how we have the visuals we've been playing out for our audiences, that how the plane as it crashed, it went up in flames, and the chances of survival of any passenger that was on board are bleak, is what the officials are saying. However, it has not been officially confirmed that all on board are dead. It's not confirmed yet. Some have been rushed to medical facilities. It is awaited to know that if they will be recuperated from the condition they were recovered in or not. Also, other than those who were on board, 242, including crew and captain, other than that, the building in which the plane crashed, it also had a number of occupants, and more than 50 of them had to be rushed to medical facilities. There could be, certainly there is chances of survivors because the plane crashed over that building, and there could be survivors in that, but yes, certain deaths are also being reported from there. Amidst all this, Ahmedabad airport has also put out a tweet saying that the airport is now operational. It had been initially shut following the incident. The airport had been shut for operations, and now it has been open for operations also. If we talk about the details of the incident that took place, the initial details that we had got, revisiting those details, the flight had taken off at 1:39 from Ahmedabad. It was bound for Gatwick, near London, and the accident took place immediately, just right 8 to 10 minutes after the takeoff.
We are told actually it took place within 60 seconds, actually, a minute and a half. It wasn't 8 to 10 minutes. It was just within a minute. So I just want to quickly come in there. Anuj, just stay on with me, Kaj. I have some reactions to play out. MLA Darshana Vaghela said that, quote, I was in my office nearby when the plane crashed and there was a loud thud. The flats of the doctors have been damaged. The rescue operation will continue, unquote. This is ANI quoting her. ANI also put out the reaction of an individual. He said, and I quote, my son had gone to the hostel during lunch break and the plane crashed there. My son is safe and I have spoken to him. He jumped from the second floor, so he suffered some injuries, says Ramila, who reached the civil hospital in Ahmedabad. So clearly a parent, very worried parent. Now, Anvit, what about those people who found themselves on the ground but in the direct line of the crashed plane?
See, the incident was completely unforeseen, and when this happened, it certainly raised panic among those who were on ground. Some people had caught this incident on their phones, and they have recorded how the plane went down and the flight path as it was declining on its flight path. That has been recorded. Some videos we have played also on screen. But yes, there certainly was panic when visuals were coming on from ground. We also saw how locals had gathered. The hundreds of people had gathered at the crash site, which also was another challenge for the first responders, be it the police, the firefighters, disaster management authorities, or the paramedics and ambulances. That also was a challenge, and many people had gathered. Okay. But that is also one reason
Anvit, just hold your thoughts. That is the Gujarat Chief Minister, who has just emerged from the hospital after visiting those that were taken there. And we showed you pictures of people being wheeled into hospital about an hour and a half back. One just hopes that the prognosis from the hospital is not as full of foreboding as what we're being told by our sources. And on the right, you can see that's the mess that has been reduced to ashes there. Parts of the plane, this is the tail of the plane crashing into the roof section of this cafe, bringing the roof down. An eyewitness has been quoted as having saying that after my office 200 meters from here, as soon as I stepped out of the office, I heard a very loud noise and smoke filled the area. Suddenly a commotion broke out here, and then we saw that this incident had occurred. When I reached the spot, I saw debris scattered here. There was a fire and smoke was billowing here. Nothing was visible. We then came to know that the wings of the aircraft fell here and that an aircraft crashed. We don't know about the casualties, but there is a building here where doctors reside. And that's the building that we were talking about, viewers, out of which is sticking out the tail of the plane in a rather ominous way. Now let's play out some eyewitness depositions.
यहीं मेरे ऑफिस में बैठी थी, जैसा धड़ाका हुआ मैं वहाँ ऑफिस से वहाँ गई। बहुत बड़ा प्लेन क्रैश हुआ था, तो बहुत धुआं और आग लगी थी। जो डॉक्टर्स के फ्लैट थे उनको बहुत डैमेज हुए हैं, और उसमें से कितने डॉक्टरों को हमने निकाला है, लोकल कार्यकर्ता और सब मिलके। बाद में जो प्लेन में से निकाले हैं वो लोग भी बहुत
बड़ी दुखद दुर्घटना,
बहुत
कितने
बहुत
लोगों की मौत, कुछ
अभी कोई अंदाजा नहीं लग रहा है। रहने वालों को भी बहुत नुकसान हुआ है।
हमारी बहन जा रही थी लंदन,
1 बजे जा रही थी।
1:10 की फ्लाइट थी और जा रही थी लंदन। लंदन जाने से पहले ही क्रैश हो गया प्लेन।
मेरी शादी था, वो अमृतसर थी और लंदन जा रही थी।
हाँ, फिर
बस वो 1 घंटे में समाचार आ गया तो प्लेन क्रैश हो गया है, इसलिए मैं वापस अहमदाबाद से बाहर निकल गया था, तो वापस आए सील में आ गया। अभी कुछ भी समाचार नहीं मिला है अभी तक।
यहाँ पे जो ऑफिस से बाहर निकला तो मैंने देखा कि आवाज़, जोर से आवाज़ आया विंग्स का, फिर पूरा धुआं भर गया। लोग यहाँ से भगदड़ मची, उसके बाद आके देख रहे थे ये हादसा की स्थिति है।
अच्छा, तो आप यहाँ पर पहले आए तो आपने क्या देखा?
आने के बाद देखा कि पूरा मलबा बिखरा हुआ, आग लगी है, पूरा धुआं गुब्बारा है, कुछ भी दिखाई नहीं दे रहा, समझ में नहीं आ पा रहा था क्या है। हाँ, उसके बाद पता चला कि ये विंग्स गिरा हुआ है, फ्लाइट वो किया, और फिर प्रशासन ने चारों तरफ से घेर लिया।
कितने बजे हुआ तकरीबन ये हादसा, कुछ समय
लगभग 45 मिनट पहले हादसा हुआ।
Viewers, everyone expressing shock and pretty much confirming the sequence of events there. The plane takes off within a minute. It's down. It crashes into a building that houses a number of doctors because it is part of a medical establishment. In fact, the building was the cafeteria. You can see the pictures on the left of the plane, tail of the plane that is sticking out of the top of that building, the roof section of the building. Below, those are the pictures from within the building. A lot of material there reduced to dust, burnt to smithereens. Anvinit is with us. We're also being told that Jamie Ray Meek, a British citizen listed as a passenger on Air India flight 171, reportedly shot a final Instagram short story just before takeoff, and that remains his final testament to the world. Very, very, very sad situation. Passengers from across the world on this flight. Remember, there were Canadians, there were British nationals, more than 50 British nationals, 169 Indian nationals, a number of Canadian nationals. The US government also putting out a statement, not just in sympathy, but also calling upon its citizens to check with the consulate there to ensure that they can make their way back home. Let me go across to Anvit. Anvit, what's the latest you have for us?
Rahul, what we are getting from ground is that the death toll has already crossed 140 and 150, and this is what the sources on ground are telling us. And among the passengers, the 242 passengers that were on board, Air India has also confirmed that there were 169 of them were Indian nationals, while 53 were British nationals. There also was 1 Canadian national on board, and 7 Portuguese nationals were there. The injured have certainly been taken to hospitals, but death toll is likely to rise. And from those who were on board the aircraft, it is almost confirmed. There's no official word though, but chances of survivors are really bleak in this incident. As we have also seen the visuals from ground, a number of locals had gathered on spot, and it is also one reason because the area was heavily populated one. That is also one reason that there will certainly be fatalities from ground as well. The building that was hit by the plane, that is a doctor's hostel. Many of the occupants of the building have also been rushed to medical facilities, and there are certain deaths have also been reported. Exact numbers are not still out, but it is expected that agencies certainly will be putting out the numbers soon. The police is expected to give out the numbers soon, but so far, even now, hours after the incident, focus is on rescue because many people who are under the debris, who are in the building, they are being taken out. They are all being rushed to medical facilities, and soon we'll get the numbers also as to how many have been injured and what are the exact number of fatalities. But what we are learning is that out of 242 people, which includes 2 pilots and 10 cabin crew, number of survivors who were on that plane is really bleak to be.
Well, hoping against hope, praying that we get some good news, viewers. What a terrible tragedy to grip the nation. Shocked, many people shocked. Reactions coming from across the world, from pretty much every global leader commiserating with the Indian authorities, with the Indian government and the people of our country. Let me go across to Payal. Payal, what can you tell us about the news that you're receiving on the investigative front? We know that Civil Aviation Minister and the DGCA Chief and Civil Aviation Secretary are being rushed to Ahmedabad. They're going to probably meet there. There's going to be a forensic inquiry and a probe into all of this. But what are you hearing from government sources?
Well, as far as the government is concerned, Rahul, one thing is for sure that it will be a thorough investigation which will be done, because this also involves the unfortunate demise of foreign citizens, and therefore the government of India is extremely sure that there will be no lackluster, attitude at all as far as this is concerned. And therefore, all the investigating agencies concerning this have been lost to the spot. So that it is wait and see how this forensic investigation and other investigation will really follow. And therefore, Civil Aviation Minister Rammohan Naidu is expected to arrive in Ahmedabad anytime now. Indian Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, who is also the son of the soil, is also reaching Ahmedabad very shortly. And, all the NDRF and other teams are already there in Ahmedabad and helping with the rescue and relief operation. And another flight has taken off from Delhi to Ahmedabad. It consists of officials from the DGCA, consists of the Civil Aviation Secretary also, and Mulinder Mahal, who is the Minister of State for Civil Aviation. The government of India has assured not just the people over here, but also to all the foreign nationals and their countries that a thorough investigation really will be done. It's very difficult at this point in time to point a finger at anybody in particular, given the fact that this is a modernized equipment, it's a modernized flight that had actually taken off from Ahmedabad. And therefore, all efforts will be made to make sure that we get to the bottom of it as well.
Right.
And there is something that the government of India has assured.
Well, of course, premature viewers to even speculate about the reasons. It's too early in the day to do that. But clearly, there was something very, very wrong that led to this unprecedented tragedy. No Dreamliner has crashed, especially of the 787 Boeing variety, anywhere in the world. India is the first place where this has happened. So obviously, viewers, there's going to be a lot of dismay, and there will also be a huge focus. Muralidhar Mohol, who is the Minister of State for Civil Aviation and Cooperation at the center, has also spoken on this issue. Hardeep Singh Puri has also spoken on this issue. Let's go straight across to some reactions that we're playing out now.
कुछ समय पहले दोपहर को एक दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण घटना घटी है। एयर इंडिया का AI-171 जो अहमदाबाद से लंदन जाने वाला जो फ्लाइट था वो क्रैश हो गया है। उसमें कुल 242 लोग थे, 230 पैसेंजर थे और 12 क्रू मेंबर्स थे। तो वहाँ पे अभी सब राहत का कार्य शुरू है, बचाव का कार्य वहाँ पे शुरू है। हमारे मिनिस्ट्री में भी अभी हमने एक वरिष्ठ अधिकारियों की एक बैठक भी करी है। जांच तो शुरू है, वरिष्ठ लेवल पे हमारी मीटिंग भी अभी यहाँ पे हुई है और वहाँ पे अभी इमरजेंसी में जो बचाव राहत का कार्य चल रहा है उस पर चर्चा हुई है। अभी किसी बात पर बोलना, यानी कि कितनी कैजुअल्टी हुई, क्या हुआ, तो उस पर थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा।
There's a plane crash. Ahmedabad to London flight ਸੀਗੀ ਸਵੇਰੇ 8 ਵਜੇ ਦਾ ਸਮੇਂ ਸੀਗਾ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਐਂਡ ਉਹਦੇ there's an accident but ਹੁਣ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਖਬਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ। ਅਸੀਂ ਤੇ ਇਹੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਰਥਨਾ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਿੰਨੇ all those who were on board should be all right and we should await the news. I don't think one should speculate on that.
बहुत दुख की बात है, कैजुअल्टी कंफर्म नहीं बता, बहुत दुख की बात है कि एयर इंडिया का एयरक्राफ्ट क्रैश हुआ है और जब एयरक्राफ्ट क्रैश होता है तो घटना बहुत बड़ी होती है। इसलिए इस समय पर इतनी ही जानकारी मिली है तो हमारी अपील यही होगी सरकार से, हालांकि सरकार खुद कोशिश कर रही होगी कि सभी यात्रियों को बचाएं, सुरक्षित पहुंचाएं और उनका इलाज हो। और हमारी भगवान से ये प्रार्थना है कि अगर इतना बड़ा एक्सीडेंट हुआ है तो किसी की जान न गई हो और हमारे पायलट भी सुरक्षित रहे।
Viewer statement coming out from Boeing. Boeing is saying that we're aware of initial reports and are working to gather more information. Remember, real-time information is relayed always from the plane to the manufacturer, and it is kept and located at a particular center. So real-time information will be available to them. Of course, they would also be wanting to look at the crash footage. They will also be looking at the black... Anvit is there with us. Yes, so the black box is very, very important. Do we have any idea about whether the black box has been recovered as yet, Anvit? What are you learning?
See, right now the operations on ground are focusing on rescue and evacuation, and all the passengers who were on the plane, as well as the casualties that have happened on ground, they need to be evacuated and taken to medical facilities. Even the bodies, the charred bodies that we've seen visuals, they need to be moved to mortuaries, and PM will be conducted, and those formalities need to be done. And only after that, see, AIB teams are already on ground, and there will be DGCA officials are also already there, and they are looking into parallel investigations, or have also begun into the cause of the probable cause of this crash. It might take some time to retract the black box and get information from it, and the technical data that will be retrieved. Based on that, it will be ascertained as to what may have gone wrong, because there are multiple speculations as of now. Also, the last moment communication between the pilot and the ATC before the mayday call was given. If there was any communication, or if there was any communication from the pilot highlighting that there is some issue with the aircraft, that also will be crucial in this investigation. So far, when we have spoken to the experts, they have highlighted two possibilities. One is the way the plane went down and declined on its flight path. One probable cause could be dual engine failure, which is certainly a rare thing to happen, rarest of the rare, in fact. This, however, it is being suspected that there is a birds problem in Ahmedabad. It is also in the Bangalore airport, we have reported in the past. But the menace of birds need to be really huge to bring both engines down. So that is also what makes it a rare happening, and that is one reason why the experts are saying that fuel starvation could be one reason, or fuel contamination could be one reason, that why both the engines stopped working mid-air. That is one reason. Another, what they're talking about, is there could be a power outage or control jamming, which is also a possibility that would bring the plane down. So these are the reasons that the AIB will also be looking at, and also the DGCA.
Well, can you confirm? Can you confirm, because there are reports, of course, coming out that those are the Minister of Home Affairs. He's taking a flight right now to Ahmedabad. Of course, this area does fall under his constituency, or very near to his constituency, viewers, and he's on his way there. And we know that the Union Home Minister has already expressed his shock at this incident. We also know a senior BJP leader has been caught up in this crash. We're updating inputs on his exact status as of now. The former Gujarat Chief Minister, Mr. Rupani, was on board that flight. What we are being told right now is that there is a lot of speculation that is going on in different circles about the reasons behind this crash. And many people are looking very closely at the footage. And as we have been pointing out through the afternoon, that when the plane took off, it didn't even have time to retract the landing gear, and suddenly suffers a catastrophic loss of lift, which people don't quite know how it could have been possible. How did it actually happen? Because fundamentally, the Dreamliner has known to be extremely, extremely robust. There have been questions that have been appearing of recent, however, on different aspects of it. Federal Aviation Administration of America had said last year that it was investigating claims made by a Boeing engineer. And there have been, of course, this is well documented. It's been on various Netflix series, etc., who said that sections of the fuselage of the 787 Dreamliner were improperly fastened together and could break apart mid-flight after thousands of trips. Well, no such incident has been reported of recent. And if clearly that was not exactly what happened here, you can see that it's the engines that, or perhaps some other issue with the hydraulics that caused this loss of lift, because certainly no part of the fuselage here has come undone. Otherwise, we would have seen this particular plane unraveling midair. Let me go across to Payal. Payal, on the right, pictures of the Union Home Minister leaving for Ahmedabad.
Yes, it seems that the Home Minister will arrive in Ahmedabad in a short while from now. And of course, the Civil Aviation Minister also. What we are also learning, Rahul, that the BJP state president for Gujarat and Union Jal Shakti Minister C.R. Patil is also on his way to Gujarat. He has even also been asked to rush to Gujarat. He's also not just the state president, but he's also the union minister. He's the son of the soil as well. He's also been asked to go there and aid in whatever rescue relief operations are required. With the unfortunate news coming forth that, there could hardly be any survivors as far as this crash is really concerned. And obviously, that is something which everybody is waiting to see what has been the cause of this. Because I've been speaking to at least quite a few experts and quite a few union ministers, including former civil aviation ministers, Rahul. And they're very surprised because this is, of course, a modern state-of-the-art aircraft. What really led to this? So nothing is being ruled out as of now. And our colleague Manoj Gupta had just spoken to us a little earlier, and he basically also said that the sabotage angle is also being, looked into over here, with the fact that several national and international passengers were on board as well. And what an unfortunate, episode coming to the fore, not just for those people who are actually on the flight,
Right.
but also for the building on which this aircraft fell, where, the doctors were having their lunch break as well. And a complete, very, very tragic afternoon to speak the least as well. But all hands on the deck approached by the Prime Minister, and therefore multiple ministers are being rushed to the accident site.
Well, PIB of India has put out a fact check saying that an old video is being shared on social media linking it to the Ahmedabad plane crash. It shows a view from inside the plane. The video is of a plane crash that happened in Nepal in January 2023. And the PIB says rely only on information from official sources or in mainstream media. For authentic information related to the Ahmedabad crash, contact the helpline number provided by the central government. And that number, of course, is on your screens, even as we speak, viewers. So don't, again, get sucked into conspiracy theories. There are many people who are going to talk about a lot of things that might not quite fit the facts once we know them. But as of now, we can tell you that Boeing has issued a statement. So we're in contact with Air India regarding Flight 171 and stand ready to support them. Our thoughts are with the passengers, crew, first responders and all affected. So this is a statement that has been put out by Boeing. There is, of course, a past history where Boeing has been under scrutiny, but has that resulted in this particular incident? One can't say. It's too premature. But what we can tell you, viewers, is that the number of casualties are being estimated to be very high. There is a possibility of very few survivors. That's also what we are being told. Unofficially, of course, we don't have any confirmation of the status of the passengers. But what we can tell you is that there were 12 crew, including 2 very experienced pilots. Indians passengers were 169, British 53, and passengers from other nationalities 7. You can see on your screens a Portuguese and 1 Canadian. So that made up the entire 242 passenger list, including, of course, the crew. And what we are being told, viewers, is that not many might survive this devastating tragedy. I want to go across to Anvit. Anvit, what's the latest on the casualty figures? What are you picking up? And also, of course, from the ground, we know that there were about 50 to 60 MBBS students that are admitted in hospital. It is being said that they are stable. This is the Federation of All India Medical Association that is putting out these details as per discussions with the president of the RDA BG Medical College Ahmedabad and Vice President FAIMA, Dr. Dhaval Gameti. These numbers are being put out. 4 to 5 MBBS students are missing. Hope they're okay. 2-3 are in HDU and ICU, so their situation is quite precarious. 3-4 relatives of the super specialist resident doctors are missing right now, and wife of 1 found dead, and most of the passengers of the flight are brought dead. We appeal to everyone to remain calm. So this is the first intimation that we have got from any official source about the possibility of casualty figures. Anvit.
Yeah, Rahul, see, the situation on ground is such that some people certainly are missing because the crash, the plane went into a residential area and the buildings have been damaged. The people from ground, many of them are being reported missing. Some are yet to be traced. It is not confirmed whether they are dead or they have been taken to some hospital and they remain unidentified. So these are the problems and the challenges that the first responders and the paramedics and medical experts are facing on ground right now. That is one challenge. Another is that the plane had tons of fuel as it has just taken off and it was bound to go to Gatwick. So it had a huge amount of fuel. Usually, it is with the planes that their fuel is contained into the wings, and that is one reason why when planes crash, that it immediately goes up in flames. This is one reason, and this is exactly what we saw that happened with this flight as well. The moment it touched down, the moment it touched the residential area where it crashed, the plane went up in flames. And that is one reason why mostly in air crashes, the number of survivors is the least. And even in this incident, hardly there would be any survivors is what we are learning from the sources on ground, which is highly unfortunate. But this is the reality that there might, the chances of survival of anyone on board that aircraft might be very less. Also, there are casualties, collateral damage from the ground because it was a residential area. We saw how the plane's flight path declined instead of rising, and it had been taking off. And it was just minutes after taking off that the flight went down and crashed. So the visuals are clearly suggestive of the fact that they would the casualty figures that have already crossed 150 is what we're learning from the ground. That is expected to only rise. It is unfortunate, but yes, some people have also been rushed to medical facilities and they have been marked safe. This includes a number of hostelers and the doctors from who were living in the hostel in the building in which the plane has crashed. So they have been marked safe with some injuries, and they've been said they're out of danger, which is a good news in this. But on-ground situation remains challenging as rescue operations are still continuing.
Well, that's not a very encouraging outlook that has been painted there by Anvit. What we can tell you, viewers, is that the FAIMA, the Federation of All India Medical Association, has put out the latest details, and Shivani, it doesn't make for very encouraging reading. 50 to 60 MBBS students are admitted, and thankfully some are stable, most are stable. 4 to 5 MBBS students are missing, and 2-3 in HDU and ICU. But the prognosis on the passengers of the flight is not very good. Shivani.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us in what is now the second biggest air tragedy in India. An Air India flight with 232 passengers and 10 crew members crashed shortly after taking off from Ahmedabad airport. Now, the plane was carrying 169 Indians, 53 British nationals, 7 Portuguese and 1 Canadian passenger, and was bound for London. Already 130 plus casualties have been confirmed. 130 plus passengers have been declared dead, even as rescue and relief operations are on. The tragedy and crash has been so severe that the worst is now feared as far as the casualties are concerned. The aircraft involved was a Boeing 787 Dreamliner 12 and is believed that the pilots lost both engines and plunged very quickly after takeoff. Before Ahmedabad, Boeing 787, known as the Dreamliner, entered service in October 2011 and had never been involved in a fatal incident. But there have been many concerns over safety and audit-related issues with Boeing, the company itself. Home Minister Amit Shah, Civil Aviation Minister K. Ram Mohan Naidu have travelled to Ahmedabad along with other ministry and DGCA officials. News also is that former Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani was on the flight travelling to London, where his family is currently, and we are awaiting confirmation on his condition. Let's take a look at exactly what happened. Air India Boeing flight AI-171 from Ahmedabad to Gatwick in London crashed immediately after takeoff from the Ahmedabad airport itself. As per ATC, the aircraft departed from Ahmedabad at 1:39 p.m. this afternoon from runway 23. So it was scheduled to leave this afternoon. It departed or took off at 1:39 p.m. There were 242 persons on board the aircraft, consisting of 2 pilots and 10 cabin crew, as I mentioned. The aircraft was under the command of Captain Sumit Sabarwal with First Officer Clive Kundar. Captain Sumit Sabarwal is a line training captain with 8,200 hours of experience. The co-pilot also had 1,100 hours of flying experience. Now, the captains, the crew gave a mayday call to the ATC shortly after its takeoff, but thereafter no response was given by the aircraft to the calls made by the ATC. Now, the flight is said to have crashed within a minute after takeoff from runway 23. It had barely achieved a height of 600 odd feet. And the worst is that it actually lost control so badly that the pilots crashed right outside the airport perimeter. The Air India flight crashed at an under construction building, but it also damaged in its path a medical college and hospital, where few students have also been injured. We're also trying to ascertain more about their condition on ground. So what exactly happened mid-air? Initial data from flight Air India 171 shows that the aircraft reached a maximum barometric altitude of 625 feet only. Now, this is not a lot. This is just about 425 feet above the altitude of the runway itself, which is at 200 feet. Minutes after making that mayday call, the Air India flight started to descend with a vertical speed of minus 475 feet per minute. So you can imagine that actually the flight went down so quickly that within a few seconds, it had crashed into those buildings, possibly giving no time to the pilots and others to even try to maneuver away from what seems to be a heavily densely populated area. These are some of the videos that we have also been able to capture through various residents of that area. This is, of course, the moment the Air India Ahmedabad London flight crashed. After takeoff, you can see that it immediately burst into flames, which is why we are fearing heavy casualties and possibly no survivors. Minutes after the flight crashed at this under construction building, visuals show parts of the flight up in flames. Footage also shows firefighters dousing those flames soon after the plane had crashed. And because the proximity of this crash site is so close to the city and the airport itself, the rescue and the fire services actually managed to get to the area, to the crash site fairly quickly, within minutes, is also what the police has confirmed. The visuals from the crash site show the debris of the flight AI-171 scattered across the area. This is one visual that is extremely damning as far as this crash is concerned. This is one portion of the crashed aircraft that has actually got stuck on top of the building, and other parts that have fallen on the ground, where of course there are lots of people that you can see as well. Dramatic visuals also show these parts crashing into these buildings at various areas. There is another mess hall where about 50 to 60 students that are studying, there are MBBS students that were studying in the nearby colleges, and there is a hostel where they used to live, and mess hall where they were eating lunch, when actually parts of the plane crashed into the windows of that mess as well. But thankfully, there have been no casualties there, at least the mess hall is concerned. Soon after the crash, rescue efforts were in place, of course. Injured were rushed to hospitals. These are some of the visuals that we've managed to access. Chief Minister of Gujarat has also visited the civil hospital where most of the injured are being taken. These are, of course, injured. We don't know whether these were passengers. It's unlikely that they were passengers, because the situation also is that there could be more casualties or injured from on ground, from the buildings and across the airport perimeter where this plane crashed and burst into flames. We're also getting more fresh visuals that are arriving of the moments after the crash. Take a look at this visual. These are visuals of this densely populated area. You can see buildings are also on fire. There is debris on the ground that has caught fire as well. So these are the buildings that have come into the path of this crashing aircraft. We are being told that MBBS students lived in these hostels, and we are waiting to get more as far as their condition is concerned. But there is also a mess building, a mess hall where students had gone for eating during the lunch hour, which also bore the brunt, but less severe brunt of this crashing aircraft. At least there we spoke to an eyewitness. The students are safe. But the eyewitnesses told us that there is another building where this craft had crashed into. The visuals we also showed you earlier of the crashed aircraft stuck into the building. And there could be some casualties feared. But of course, we're trying to get you the latest. Let's also listen in, not just to eyewitnesses, but other relief agencies on ground as well.
यहीं मेरे ऑफिस में बैठी थी, जैसा धड़ाका हुआ मैं वहाँ ऑफिस से वहाँ गई। बहुत बड़ा प्लेन क्रैश हुआ था, तो बहुत धुआं और आग लगी थी। जो डॉक्टर्स के फ्लैट थे उनको बहुत डैमेज हुए हैं, और उसमें से कितने डॉक्टरों को हमने निकाला है, लोकल कार्यकर्ता और सब मिलके। बाद में जो प्लेन में से निकाले हैं वो लोग भी बहुत
बड़ी दुखद दुर्घटना।
बहुत
कितने लोगों की
बहुत
मौत, कुछ
अभी कोई अंदाजा नहीं लग रहा है। रहने वालों को भी बहुत नुकसान हुआ है।
हाँ, जस्ट बोर्डिंग हुआ था, मैं अंदर फ्लाइट के अंदर वॉक करते जा रहे थे, बट सामने बहुत बड़ा धुआं वगैरह दिख रहा था। बट उस टाइम मुझे ये नहीं मालूम था वो प्लेन क्या है। जैसे कोई आग, झाड़ी में वगैरह जंगल में आग लगती है ना, लाइक वैसा कुछ तो लग रहा था। ये मालूम नहीं था कि वो प्लेन क्रैश हुआ है।
तो उसके बाद क्या हुआ? इन लोगों की तरफ से इन्फॉर्मेशन, एयरपोर्ट की तरफ से क्या इन्फॉर्मेशन मिल गया?
नहीं, तब तक कुछ नहीं। फिर हम अंदर जाके बैठे, हमारे साथ में हम फोटो भी निकाले थे, जैसे कोई आग लगी होगी झाड़ी वगैरह में। जब फ्लाइट में बैठे और 10-15 मिनट इधर उधर फिर एकदम से अनाउंसमेंट हो गया कि फ्लाइट डिले हो रहा है। बट वहाँ पे उन्होंने ये रीज़न नहीं बताया कि किस वजह से डिले हो रहा है। डिले हो रहा है इतना ही बताया था। बट अभी वो वाईफाई मतलब इंटरनेट वगैरह सब चालू था, मोबाइल पे न्यूज़ आ गया, तब हमें पता चला कि वो फ्लाइट क्रैश हुआ है।
मेरा लड़का है ना, वो ब्रेक पड़ा था खाने का, तो हॉस्टल में खाने गया था इधर, यानी हॉस्टल में ही प्लेन क्रैश हुआ। पर मेरे लड़का को कुछ हुआ नहीं, बात हुई मेरी। पर इसके भाईबंद है ज़्यादा हुए तो लोग मर गए। ये फिर मेरे लड़का को देखने जाना है अंदर। मेरे को लड़का बोला है कि मैं अच्छा दूसरे माल से कूदा था ना, तो थोड़ा खाली लगा है, ऐसा बोला है मेरे को। पर मैं जाऊँ अंदर तो मालूम पड़े ना ऐसा।
ठीक है।
हमारी ट्रेन जा रही थी लंदन,
1 बजे जा रही थी फ्लाइट।
1:10 की फ्लाइट थी और जा रही थी लंदन। लंदन जाने से पहले ही क्रैश हो गया प्लेन।
मेरी साड़ी था वो खम्बिसर थी और लंदन जा रही थी।
हाँ, फिर
हाँ बस वो 1 घंटे में समाचार आ गया को प्लेन क्रैश हो गया है, इसलिए मैं वापस अहमदाबाद से बाहर निकल गया था, तो वापस आए सील में आ गया। अभी कुछ भी समाचार नहीं मिला है अभी तक।
कुछ समय पहले दोपहर को एक दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण घटना घटी है। एयर इंडिया का AI-171 जो अहमदाबाद से लंदन जाने वाला जो फ्लाइट था वो क्रैश हो गया है। उसमें कुल 242 लोग थे, 230 पैसेंजर थे और 12 क्रू मेंबर्स थे। तो वहाँ पे अभी सब राहत का कार्य शुरू है, बचाव का कार्य वहाँ पे शुरू है। हमारे मिनिस्ट्री में भी अभी हमने एक वरिष्ठ अधिकारियों की एक बैठक भी करी है। जांच तो शुरू है, वरिष्ठ लेवल पे हमारी मीटिंग भी अभी यहाँ पे हुई है और वहाँ पे अभी इमरजेंसी में जो बचाव राहत का कार्य चल रहा है उस पर चर्चा हुई है। अभी किसी बात पर बोलना यानी कि कितनी कैजुअलिटी हुई, क्या हुआ, तो उस पर थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा।
Let's go across to some of our experts joining us. Captain C.S. Randhawa is President of Federation of Indian Pilots. He's also served as former General Manager of Air India and former Deputy Chief Flight Operations Inspector at the DGCA. Group Captain M.J. Vinod is a former fighter pilot with the Indian Air Force with us. Dr. Vandana Singh, Chairperson of Aviation Cargo, Federation of Aviation Industry in India. V.K. Kukur is aviation expert also with us. I do thank you all for your time. First up, I want to go across to Captain C.S. Randhawa.
Yes, ma'am.
Your thoughts about the nature of the crash first up, because it has happened within a minute of takeoff, giving the pilots and the crew hardly any time to even be able to change their course of line or their direction, crashing into these buildings. What do you think could have transpired? What could have been those moments like inside that cockpit?
Okay. To start with, this was an extremely tragic accident which has occurred. Let me give you some background. This flight was from Ahmedabad to London Heathrow and must be carrying at least 65,000 to 70,000 liters of aviation turbulent fuel, which is highly inflammable. And it is in the category of the kerosene, and it is much more inflammant than petrol. Now, the aircraft has taken off. The pilot must have engaged the autopilot around 200 to 250 feet. Now, it seems that the aircraft would have been about 500-600 feet when it started descending, which I've seen through the video. And the pilot has given a mayday call.
Yes.
Normally, the mayday call should succeed with the nature of failure. Supposing I say mayday, 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 engine failure, left engine failure or right engine failure or both engine failure. The pilot has not given that. I think must be because the time was too short and the pilot was still thinking that what he has to do.
Okay.
Now there are, I could be wrong. The actual analysis will come after the DFDR, the digital data flight recorder, which will be taken out, which records many parameters of the aircraft, speed, height, engine thrust, your engine oil pressure, temperature. There are various parameters this DFDR, which is called the black box, records. In addition to that, there is a cockpit voice recorder, which has got a recording up to 2.5 hours, and then it starts auto erasing. So these two will be able to tell us during the investigation, which I don't think so, the AAIB, which will be instituted to do this inquiry of the crash, they will take time because even the Boeing company will be involved in, in this investigation.
So just hold your thought. Just hold your thought. I'm going to come back to you and all our other experts as well. My colleague from News 18 Gujarat, reporter Maulik Dhamecha, is actually joining us from the BJ hospital where this plane crashed. Yes. मौलिक, हमें ज़रा दिखाइए वहाँ पे किस तरह का डैमेज हुआ है और आपको क्या इन्फॉर्मेशन, क्या जानकारी मिल रही है कि कोई वहाँ पे जो बच्चे थे, जो स्टूडेंट्स थे, उनके क्या हालचाल है?
बिल्कुल पूरा मामला जो है वो 1:30 बजे के आसपास जब प्लेन क्रैश हुआ तब बना था। फिलहाल ये दृश्य आपको दिखाना चाहूँगा कि ये जो पीजी अस्पताल है, जहाँ डॉक्टरी की अस्पताल से पढ़ते हुए बच्चे, जहाँ प्लेन क्रैश होने के नाते लगभग 22 से 30 बच्चे थे, जो यहाँ पे प्लेन क्रैश होते ही सीधा ब्लास्ट हुआ और ब्लास्ट होने के नाते वो यहाँ जलकर राख हो गए। साथ ही साथ 133 से भी ज़्यादा पैसेंजर जो प्लेन में सवार थे, अहमदाबाद से टेक ऑफ की हुई फ़्लाइट जो थी वो लंदन की ओर जा रही थी, पर करीबन एयरपोर्ट से निकलते ही लगभग 1 किलोमीटर दूर आई होगी और 1 किलोमीटर दूर आते ही ये ब्लास्ट होने के कारण सारा जो है तहस नहस हो चुका है। पूरी बिल्डिंग जो है 8 माले की बिल्डिंग अभी लगभग 4 माले की रह चुकी है। पूरा काटमाल जो है वो खसने की काम जो है वो पुलिस, NDRF की टीम, पूरा गुजरात पुलिस का फोर्स और साथ ही साथ आर्मी की टीम जो है वो भी जुटी हुई है। लोकल जो पुलिस और फायर ब्रिगेड की टीम जो है वो भी फिलहाल तैनात है। एक जो अस्पताल से निकाले गए जो डॉक्टर की ओर से बोले गए जो मृत लोग हैं उनको यहाँ से PM की ओर ले जाया जा रहा है। माना जा रहा है कि आने वाले समय में और भी जो कई डेड बॉडियाँ जो है वो निकाल के यहाँ से रवाना किए गए। कई सारे बच्चे थे, कई सारे युवा थे जो यहाँ से फ़्लाइट में सवार होते हुए और कई जो आशास्पद युवा जो डॉक्टरी की पढ़ाई करने आए हुए थे और ये प्लेन क्रैश होने के नाते अभी फ़िलहाल मौत को भेटे हुए।
मौलिक जी, मैं आपसे कंफर्म करना चाहती हूँ एक बार और। मौलिक जी, मैं आपसे कंफर्म करना चाहती हूँ एक बार और। आप कह रहे हैं कि 22 से लेके 30 बच्चे जो MBBS की तैयारी कर रहे थे और इस हॉस्टल में रहते थे, उनकी मृत्यु हो गई है,
अस्पताल ले जाया जाएगा।
मौलिक जी, आपको मेरी अगर आवाज़ आ रही है, मैं एक बार कंफर्म करना चाहती हूँ आपसे कि ये जो MBBS की तैयारी कर रहे थे बच्चे, उसमें से 22 से 30 बच्चे उनकी मृत्यु हो गई है वहाँ पे उस हॉस्टल में।
माफ़ कीजिएगा, आपको एक बार क्वेश्चन जो है वो रिपीट करना पड़ेगा क्योंकि एम्बुलेंस की आवाज़ इतनी आ रही है, मैं आपको सुन नहीं पा रहा था। पर फिलहाल एक दृश्य जो है वो आपको दिखाना चाहूँगा कि जो अभी भी फ़िलहाल कई सारे स्वयंसेवक हैं, कई सारे एम्बुलेंस जो है वो यहाँ के लिए काम में जुटी हुई है, कागजात जो है वो निकालने के जुटी हुई है। फिलहाल एक एक करके एम्बुलेंस जो है वो अंदर भेजा जा रहा है और फिलहाल कोई भी अंदर आ ना जा सके, इसीलिए BSF का जो पॉइंट है वो BSF भी यहाँ अंदर जुटा हुआ है। लाइट जो है वो लाइट बिल्कुल ऑफ कर दिया है। टॉरेंट पावर की टीम जो है वो टॉरेंट पावर की टीम जो है यहाँ लगातार तैनात है। साथ ही साथ कई सारे स्वयंसेवक हैं वो भी जुटे हुए हैं। फिलहाल अभी AMC के जनरेटर मंगाए गए हैं क्योंकि जो आसपास में जो बड़े घने वृक्ष से उनको काटने के लिए कहीं जो जनरेटर की व्यवस्था जो है वो एएमसी की ओर से की जाए। ऐसी कई सारी मात्रा में एम्बुलेंस जो है 1-2 डेड बॉडियाँ निकालने के लिए आती जाती रहती है। अभी फ़िलहाल 50 से भी ज़्यादा डेड बॉडियाँ ऑलरेडी निकाल चुके हैं और उनको अस्पताल भेजा जा चुका है। फ़िलहाल ये मामला लगभग 1:30 बजे से जब शुरू हुआ है और अभी 6 बजने की वारदात है। 6 बजे के बाद 6 बजे बाद भी यहाँ से कोई बाहर निकलता है, 1-2 डेड बॉडियाँ जो है वो बाहर निकलती नज़र आ रही। यानी कितने लोग हैं वो अभी कहना मुश्किल है। फ़िलहाल जो इंजर लोगों की एक सूची बाहर आई है, वो इंजर लोगों की सूची में ऐसा जानने मिला है कि लगभग 25 लोग जो है वो फ़िलहाल इंजर्ड हैं। उनकी अलग अलग वार्ड में सिविल अस्पताल के अंदर जो है वो सारवार होने जा रही है और बाकी सारे जो लोग हैं उनको यहाँ से डेड बॉडियाँ जो है वो निकाल के आगे की ओर ले जाया जा रहा है।
मौलिक जी, अगर आपको मेरी आवाज़ अब आ रही है, आपके आसपास बहुत आवाज़ है एम्बुलेंसेस की, मैं आपसे कंफर्म करना चाहती हूँ कि जो बच्चे इस हॉस्टल में थे उनमें से कितने की मृत्यु हुई है, जो आपके पास अभी जानकारी है?
अभी जिस प्रकार जानकारी मिल रही है वो बेसिक इन्फॉर्मेशन है। बेसिक इन्फॉर्मेशन इसीलिए क्योंकि जब घटनास्थल पे ये प्लेन जब क्रैश हुआ, ये यही जगह है। मैं आपको एक बार दृश्य के मार्फत दिखाना चाहूँगा कि ये जो जगह है वो बिल्कुल यही जगह है कि जहाँ से प्लेन का कॉकपिट होता है और कॉकपिट के आगे का भाग से लगभग 58 लीटर जितना फ्यूल जो था वो फ्यूल होने के नाते यहाँ टकराया था और टकराने की वजह से ये सारा जो बच्चे यहाँ हॉस्टल में पढ़ते थे, रहते थे, उनको यहाँ लगा हुआ था और ये सारे लोग यहाँ अभी मौत से जुटे हुए। सारे कई लोग जो बच गए थे वो बच गए, उसको अस्पताल में दाखिल कराया गया है, उनकी सारवार जो है वो चल रही है। पर जब तक आंकड़ा मिल पा रहा है कि 22 से भी ज़्यादा बच्चे यहाँ थे, उनको ले जाया जा रहा था और उसमें ये हादसा हुआ और ये हादसे में कई सारे पैसेंजर भी थी और वो जो पैसेंजर का आंकड़ा है वो अब तक 150 से भी ज़्यादा होने का माना जा रहा है।
Okay. Maulik Dhameja, thanks a lot for joining us. Let me go back to our guests who continue to be with us. Yes, Captain C.S. Randhawa was talking about what could have possibly gone wrong. I'm sorry to cut you short there. We were getting this live report. Yes, sir. Your thoughts on what could have possibly gone wrong? How can both engines of such a reliable aircraft, the Dreamliner, that had never been involved in such a crash of this nature, happen?
See, I said earlier that this could have been due to bird ingestion because Ahmedabad is a known airfield for a lot of bird activity. I have flown there enough number of times, and that was one challenge we used to have about the bird activity at Ahmedabad, even when we used to do training flights. So there could be a possibility that that both engines have flamed out because of bird ingestion. There is a very less possibility that the both engines have failed because of fuel starvation, because there are separate fuel lines going into each engine, and it's unlikely that such a situation has occurred until and unless there is some contamination in the fuel, some water content which was there due to cold soak. That possibility also cannot be ruled out. The other possibility could have been that when the pilot did not have much time to think that what has to be done when he's lost control of the aircraft, could be jamming of the control. If there is a jamming of the elevator control in the aircraft, then that possibility also cannot be ruled out. So, in my opinion, it will be not correct to come to any conclusion without the AIB retrieving the DFDR and the CVR, and then only we would be able to come to know. Thirdly, let me tell you, when the aircraft crashes with so much of fuel, it is like a time bomb.
Yes.
And if it lands up over a populated area, there is no question of survivors wherever the debris of the aircraft will go, because the fuel will be all over. And fuel, you know that when it is spread, even a small fire, small light can create a havoc, because in one go it will burn the whole place.
Yes, yes. That certainly seems to have happened as far as this case is also concerned. Let me also go across to Group Captain MJ Vinod, a very, very concerning situation this. Not only the fact that the plane crashed within a minute or so, barely had achieved any height or altitude before it crashed. It seems like the pilots were not able to control the plane at all. Their power was completely off. Both engines could have, and we are being told that that can only happen if both engines have gone off, which is a very rare situation. And then, of course, for the plane to have crashed into a residential area, my colleague was just bringing a report there from what is a tragic scene unfolding, which was a hostel for MBBS students who seem to have come in the path of this crashing plane.
Yes, Shivani, with with all due respect to all the information out there, I want to, Shivani, I mean, you know me by now, I want to break it down into logical pieces. I landed in this particular runway just a couple of days ago on a twin-engine big jet, and very, very familiar with this place. I keep landing there often. So with that as the background, I'm saying this. If you hear the voice or the noise of this particular video, you can clearly make out that the engines are humming till the time the aeroplane is touching down or hitting the ground. A loss of thrust, loss of power is not the case here. At least from the time they have started filming this video till the time the crash happens, you can hear the engine is running. Point number one. Point number two, was it just one engine running or was it both engine running? So let's demystify, Shivani, as if one engine running. I reiterate to all our viewers, any twin engine aeroplane, including 787 Dreamliner that we are seeing on the screen now, is capable of taking off. After V1 is when we take off. I mean, there's a speed called V1 at which we take off. The speed, V1 speed caters for you to take off in one engine, climb out in one engine, carry out an emergency landing in one engine. It is designed for a single engine operation, which means even if one engine is, so we can hear the noise of the engine, assuming it is just one engine. Okay, before the video was taken, one engine, say, had died. Even if it was one engine, this aeroplane can continue to climb in one engine. It is designed to do so. Then the question, Shivani, will ask me is, why did the aeroplane sink?
Yes.
The sink can happen when you have the two-engine failure or when you have loss of lift. So when you zoom in closely, as you can see, zoomed in video in the box, you can see very clearly the trailing edge of the wing is up. That is called the flaps. Normally, as you can see behind me also, the flaps are down for takeoff and landing. It is kept down so that you can take off at a much lower speed. But if the flap goes up prematurely, whatever could be the reason, it could be electrical, it could be any reason, the aeroplane now loses lift and it starts sinking. So even with two engines, with loss of lift and heavy aeroplane will not be able to climb out.
No,
it is
just a clarification.
as simple as that.
What causes this loss of lift?
Flaps are up, Shivani, because the flaps are put down so that the aeroplane wings can generate much more lift. 120% lift is extra. Matlab, 100 plus 120 is what you get when the flaps are down. But when the flap goes up, as you pick up speed, you have to keep raising the flaps. And as you pick up cruising speed, the flaps are fully up, the aeroplane wing is straight, as it is seen in the video. So the flaps have gone up. In 2013, Shivani, this particular entire 787 was grounded because of some electrical issues. And after that, they sorted out the electrical issues and the aeroplane came back online.
Are you suggesting that there are technical issues that could have led to loss of flight?
Loss of lift?
Yes.
Possible. But only the FDR will tell us whether the flap went up automatically or the flap went up due to some other reason. Only the FDR will and the CVR, the cockpit voice recorder, will be able to tell us. But Shivani, you turn up the volume and let the let our viewers hear the noise. The engine is running. So the loss of lift, in my opinion, could be the reason. But again, there are only two people who will know. One is the FDR, another is God. No one else can tell you what went wrong.
You know, I spoke to several experts through the day when we first got the update about this crash. And most are suggesting that this nature of crash soon after takeoff in what was clearly a fit aircraft to fly, it had come from Delhi to Ahmedabad and then was flying from Ahmedabad to London, could not have happened given that the pilots had no time to react, to respond. After Mayday call, they were incommunicado. This couldn't have happened without loss of engine. But you are suggesting that loss of engine is not the case here.
Turn up the volume. You will know what I'm saying. Just turn up the volume of this particular video. You will know what I'm saying. See, sound is a very, very important clue. Visual, yes, but sound is a very, very important clue, especially, you'll be surprised to know, and the viewers will be surprised to know, with sound, you can even make out what is the RPM of the engine. We have that technology where we can make out what is the RPM of the engine, and with that, we can make out whether engine was at what RPM is it going around, and did it function correctly or not. So these are the things we are able to make out with just sound. So the engine,
question that
at least
arises
one
is,
engine was working, Shivani. At least one, and one is enough.
And one is clearly enough. So the question that arises is whether it's a technical, mechanical failure or some sort of a manual error. Dr. Vandana Singh is chairperson of Aviation, Cargo and Federation of Aviation Industry in India. And Dr. Vandana, I want to come to you with the issues surrounding the Boeing. While the Boeing Dreamliner is being called an airline with great safety record, we do know that there are whistleblowers plus other investigations that have happened into Boeing operations that have pointed out to serious lapses in security protocols, audits, etc. In fact, in April 2024, a whistleblower had actually warned against the safety of the Dreamliner 787 itself. What do you make of what has happened today?
Rightfully said, well acknowledged, and thank you for having me on your show, Shivani. Yes, indeed, first of all, 787, a Dreamliner as such is a very robust aircraft, and it has a good health check about it, that it is flying all over the world, and it's being maintained well. There are whistleblowers everywhere, whether it's Airbus, whether it's Boeing, whether it's any other company, we know about that. I am actually questioning the maintenance of this particular equipment, and if all the checks were done in order. I'm also hearing all about, what could it be? Of course, the flight data, the recorder is going to reveal what it was, but it could have been a massive electrical or a software system failure cause, which means it is causing total FADEC, full authority, digital engine control, meaning complete down. But then if the engines were running, the question is what went wrong? It could be a critical maintenance issue. It could be a weight and volume issue. It could be a misdeclaration on the flight. It could be cargo. It could be something as simple as a lithium battery or dry ice or something which is cargo aircraft only, which is loaded on this equipment. We also see it tail heavy. When we are seeing the visuals, we are also seeing it tail heavy. So there are many questions there, many speculations there, and all the experts are talking about it. But having said that, both Boeing and Airbus are having their own, set of flaws, questions. Do not forget the Qantas flight in 2008, where not engine failure, but how electrical and software glitches completely disrupted it and caused the crash. So the question is, we can speculate right now. Flight data, the recorder is going to reveal everything, but whistleblowers are definitely needed. Whistleblowers have to come out, because this is talking about the safety and security of human life. Yeah. We are playing with that. And I'm questioning everything from ground handling to critical maintenance to the fact, did this go through A check? It's an 11-year-old equipment, fine. It has a long life, no problem. But did it go through its A checks, which is 400 to 600 hours? Was it being checked properly?